A week before the college entrance exam, I deliberately asked my parents to leave 50 rooms empty at our family hotel so my classmates could stay for free. Then the exam results came out, and our class monitor, Nora, did terribly. She got the whole class to spread rumors online, claiming our hotel had deliberately done construction at midnight just to sabotage her score. The post went viral. The hotel was reported and shut down. My parents lost everything they had, and their hair turned gray. Overnight, throughout it all, not a single one of the 50 classmates who stayed at our hotel spoke up for us. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to 1 week before the exam. My parents were discussing, "Sweetheart, with the college entrance exams coming up, should we save a room for your classmates?" I put down my chopsticks. "No need, not even one." My parents were stunned, but we're the only hotel nearby. "The next closest one is over 5 kilometers away." I smiled. "Perfect, one standing." At the classroom door, I looked at those familiar faces inside, and a wave of nausea rose in my stomach. I remember it vividly. In my past life, not a single one of these people stepped forward to say a fair word when my family was being slandered all over the internet and reported until our business shut down. Nora led the charge, posting online that our family's hotel was doing construction in the middle of the night, deliberately making noise just to ruin her chances of getting into college. Tens of thousands of likes, tens of thousands of retweets. The trending topic stayed up for 2 full days. My parents had never wronged anyone. They were just ordinary business people, running their hotel honestly. For those 2 days, our hotel phones rang off the hook, all cancellations and abuse. The tourism bureau sent people to investigate. The housing authority came to measure noise levels. Someone even showed up at the hotel entrance with a protest banner. Overnight, my father's hair turned mostly gray, and my mother cried so much she nearly lost her sight. In the end, the hotel was ordered to suspend operations for rectification. Between fines, refunds, and contract cancellations, our family's savings were wiped out. I pulled myself back from my thoughts and stepped into the classroom. The classroom was buzzing with noise, with students gathered in small groups discussing the college entrance exam. Some were checking answers, some were flipping through books, and others were talking about where they wanted to go after the exams were over. I walked to my seat, sat down, and hung my bag on the side of the desk. Molly, sitting in the front row, turned back and gave me a smile. "Hestia, have you finished your homework?" In my past life, she stayed in the most expensive suite at my family's place. My mom specifically upgraded her to it, saying a girl should stay somewhere comfortable, and that wasn't all. She had 3 days of free breakfast. Later, when people came after me online, she didn't say a word. I glanced at her and didn't respond. When Molly saw that I wasn't saying anything, she didn't mind and turned back to continue chatting with the person next to her. The class monitor, Nora, came over to my desk. "Hestia, you're here." I looked up at her. "Nora, my good friend. We've been deskmates since the first year of high school. I often took her to my place on weekends. My mom would cook her delicious food, and my dad would drive her home. I knew her family didn't have much, so I always rushed to pick up the tab." She mentioned she'd never been to a 5-star hotel, so I took her to my family's hotel to swim and have buffet, without letting her spend a cent. I thought we were friends, but she turned out to be the first to start rumors about my family. "What's wrong?" Nora tilted her head to look at me, a hint of confusion in her eyes. "You look a bit pale. Didn't you sleep well?" "I'm fine." My voice was flat. Nora sat down next to me, put her bag away, then naturally leaned in and lowered her voice. "Hestia, where are you staying for the college entrance exam?" In my past life, this was where it all started. "I'm staying at my own family's hotel," I said. Nora's eyes lit up. "That's great. Your hotel is only 5 minutes from the exam center. You won't even have to wake up early. I'm so jealous. You don't have to spend a thing. Didn't the school arrange accommodations? Just stay at the school then." Nora paused, clearly not expecting me to say that, but "It's so far from school." Nora frowned. "The school is on the east side of the city, and the exam site is on the west side. If we go in the morning, I'd lose at least an hour of sleep." "An hour? Come on, it's the college entrance exam. Do you think you'll be in the same mental state after an hour less of sleep?" She said it very seriously. "Then you can go to bed early," I said. Nora choked on her words. She gave me a look, something I couldn't quite name, in her eyes, but she bit her lip. "If there's a better option, why settle for less? Your family's hotel is only 5 minutes from the exam hall. It'd be great if everyone could stay there. We're all classmates. We should help each other out, too. Let's help each other out." I know that line all too well. In my past life, those very words made me feel like I should help. I'm the class president's best friend, and my family owns a hotel. Why wouldn't I help? So I did. And then, the class bell rang. Without answering Nora, I stood up and Walked to the other side of the podium with my textbook. I found an empty seat in the back and sat down. Nora glanced back at me. I looked down and opened my textbook. The Chinese teacher walked in and started explaining the key points for writing the essay. I didn't absorb a single word, my mind completely filled with those images. Anger and resentment burned like two fires in my chest for the entire morning. Every time I looked up and saw those familiar faces, I remembered their silence on line 50. Faces, I looked at each one by one, and made a mental note of every single person. No one stepped forward. The bell for the end of morning classes rang, and the classroom instantly erupted into a frenzy of noise. Some were packing their bags, some were making plans to head to the canteen, and others were discussing what would be on the afternoon exam. I took my time packing my things, in no hurry to leave. Sure enough, the complaints began. So annoying. The school arranged accommodation in the east side of the city, but the exam venue is in the west. We have to get up at 6 in the morning. That's a whole hour less of sleep. The speaker was Silas, a boy sitting in the third row. He slung his backpack over his shoulder with a loud thud that echoed through the entire classroom. Exactly, and someone in the dorm snores. I already have trouble falling asleep. If I can't rest well before the college entrance exam, how am I supposed to perform? Sienna chimed in. She's known in our class for being a light sleeper. During last spring's trip, she complained all night about the air conditioner noise from the next room. If only I could have a room to myself, quiet, and I could sleep whenever I want. Howell leaned back in his chair, legs crossed. No kidding. Tinsley slammed her textbook down on the desk. The problem is, most of the hotels nearby are too far. Even a taxi ride takes over 10 minutes, and traffic is bound to be bad on the 2 days of the college entrance exams. What if we're late? If only there were a hotel near the school. Exactly. If only there were a hotel right next to the exam venue, one you could get to in 5 minutes. As they talked, their gazes began to drift, almost in unison, toward me. I kept my head down, pretending to pack my school bag, but I knew they were watching me. Pretending not to hear, I zipped up my bag and walked up through the side aisle. 3. A murmur of whispers rose behind me, but I didn't look back. As I stepped out of the classroom, I heard Molly say, "What's wrong with Hestia today? She looks terrible. Didn't she sleep well?" Then came Nora's voice, soft and gentle. "Maybe it's the pressure from the upcoming college entrance exams. Listen to that." So understanding, the corner of my mouth twitched, and I quickened my pace downstairs. The cafeteria was crowded. I got my food and found a corner to sit in. Eating alone felt a bit strange. I used to eat with Nora, just the two of us, sitting face to face, chatting while we ate, as if we had endless things to say. Thinking back, how much of all that endless chatter was her laying the groundwork, and how much was her scheming? I took a bite of rice and chewed it a couple of times. It was bland. In my past life, when did I start being nice to my classmates? It was probably at the sports meet in the first year of high school. I brought some homemade snacks to share with everyone, and they all said it was delicious. That feeling of being liked by everyone was so intoxicating that I began habitually being nice to everyone. Treating people to meals, giving birthday gifts, buying coffee for everyone before exams, and taking classmates to my place on weekends. My parents never stopped me. In fact, they were very supportive, saying that classmates should help each other, and that's exactly why they now take it for granted that I should help them again this time. But here's the problem. I've always been the one helping, and no one has ever helped me in return. After 3 years of helping, I haven't even gotten a single fair word in return. After dinner, I cleared my tray and took out my phone to call my mom. The phone rang twice before she picked up, her voice warm and soft. "Hestia, have you eaten?" "Yes, I've eaten, Mom." Leaning against the pillar in the cafeteria, I lowered my voice. "I wanted to ask, have the rooms in our hotel been booked for the days of the college entrance exam?" "They're all booked," my mom said in a light tone. "You have no idea. As soon as the booking window opened, they were gone, all 50 rooms are taken." A lot of people even called to ask. "I told your dad maybe we should free up the staff dorms, but he said no, we shouldn't affect the employees' rest. All 50 rooms have been booked." I was taken aback for a moment, then couldn't help but laugh. In my previous life, those 50 rooms were offered to classmates for free. In this life, every single one has been booked at full price, not a single room left. What's wrong, Hestia? My mom asked. Are your classmates going to stay? If so, I'll try to coordinate and see if anyone's cancelled their booking. "No need, Mom. Don't save any rooms for them, not a single one." My mom paused for a couple of seconds, probably processing what I just said. After all, no one knew better than her how I usually treated my classmates over the past 3 years. Me suddenly saying not to save them any rooms must have struck her as odd. "Are you really sure you don't need it?" She confirmed. "Really, I don't." "All right then," my mom said. Without pressing further, study hard, but don't overdo it. After your exams, I'll take you out for a nice meal, okay? After hanging up, I stood outside the cafeteria entrance and soaked up some sun for a while. I let out a deep breath, then turned and walked back into the classroom. About 10 or 15 minutes later, the front door of the classroom was pushed open. I looked up and saw Nora walk in, followed by Silas and Hal. Nora went straight up to the podium. "Wake up, everyone, I have something to say." One by one, those who had been resting their heads on their desks looked up, dazed, and turned their gaze toward her. "Let me tell you something, everyone." Nora stood at the front of the classroom. "About the accommodation for the college entrance exam," she said. "I just went to talk to our homeroom teacher, Mr. Jean, and shared everyone's thoughts with him." She paused and scanned the room. "Mr. Jean said that the exam is ultimately your own responsibility, as long as you show up to the test center on time. The school doesn't care where you stay. If you want to book a hotel, you can make your own arrangements." The moment she finished, the classroom buzzed with chatter. Some people's eyes lit up, others began whispering to each other, and a few wore expressions of visible relief. But Nora shifted her tone, now sounding a bit troubled. "As you all know, hotels near exam centers are pretty expensive. The cheapest ones start at over $300 a night, and those are the rundown little inns with poor conditions. If you want something a bit better, you're looking at $500 or more, but even those are still 2 or 3 kilometers away." After saying this, her gaze naturally drifted in my direction. It wasn't just her. Everyone in the classroom turned to look at me. I was lying on my desk, chin resting on my arm, watching her expressionlessly. "The Hestia Zona Hotel," Nora said with a smile, "and it's right next to the exam center, just a 5-minute walk." Everyone knows the Hestia's hotel is 5-star, with great amenities, over $1,000 a night. She paused for a moment. The classroom fell silent for a couple of seconds, and the atmosphere grew a bit awkward. A flicker of barely perceptible embarrassment crossed Nora's face, but it was quickly masked by a smile. "This is what I was thinking." Her voice softened slightly. "No one wants to sleep poorly during the college entrance exams. If we can have better conditions, who wouldn't want that? Hestia's family is so wealthy. There are only 50 of us in the class. Staying for 2 nights probably wouldn't be a big deal for them, right?" "Exactly." Molly was the first to chime in, leaning forward from her seat. "Hestia, your family's hotel is so close to the exam site. Staying for 2 nights won't cost you anything. We're all classmates, so let's help each other out." "That's right," Silas added. "Hestia, you're always so nice to everyone. Help us out this time too. It's the college entrance exam. You wouldn't want us to mess it up just because we didn't sleep well, would you?" Howell chimed in as well. "Yeah, Hestia, it's not like your family is short on cash. Just think of it as doing a good deed. Everyone will remember how kind you were. You're the best. Hestia, just talk to your parents about it, okay? It's just sitting empty anyway. Might as well let your classmates stay there. It's not like we'd be staying for free. We can help spread the word and leave great reviews for the hotel." "Exactly. We can help promote your family's hotel online." Words flew one after another, everyone chipping in at once. Listening to all this, the corners of my mouth slowly curled up. I slowly straightened up from the desk. The classroom gradually fell silent, everyone waiting for my answer. Nora stood at the podium, tilting her head slightly as she looked at me, that gentle smile still on her lips. I looked at that face, at that gentle smile, and finally spoke. "Sorry. Our hotel is fully booked." 5. The classroom fell silent for a moment, then it exploded. "Fully booked? How is that possible? Rooms for the college entrance exam dates usually get booked up a month in advance. That's pretty normal. But we haven't placed the order yet. You never said you wanted to place an order," I said calmly. Nora's smile froze on her face. She opened her mouth as if to speak, then closed it again. There was something in her eyes that I had never seen before. "Hestia." She stepped down from the podium and walked over to my desk, lowering her voice until only I could hear her. "Why didn't you say so earlier? I've been going on about this to the class." I looked up at her, my eyes as calm as still water. "You didn't ask me." Nora's expression shifted, from annoyance into something she couldn't quite name. Her eyes were slightly red, and her lips pressed into a thin line, as if she were about to cry. "Hestia, do you have a problem with me?" Her voice trembled slightly. "I feel like you've been avoiding me all day." "No, you're overthinking it. Then why did you sit in the back? Don't you always sit next to me? The front row is too noisy." Nora froze, her entire body going stiff. She stared at me for a few seconds, then turned and walked back to her seat without a word or a backward glance. The other students in the classroom were still buzzing with chatter. I laid my head back down on the desk and buried my face in my arms. My eyes felt a little warm, but I wasn't about to let anyone see. The first class in the afternoon was math. I forced myself to focus and pay attention. In my previous life, I had already experienced the college entrance exam once, so these concepts weren't unfamiliar to me. Still, I couldn't afford to be careless in this life. I want to do well, not to prove anything to anyone, but for myself. I don't want to ruin my future because of someone else's mistakes, the way I did last time. During the break, Nora didn't speak to me. She sat in her seat, head down, flipping through her textbook. She exchanged a few soft words with the classmate next to her, as if deliberately keeping her distance. I don't really care either. The last class before dismissal was self-study, and our homeroom teacher, Mr. Zhang, walked in. He was a middle-aged man in his 40s, with thinning hair, thick glasses, and a slow, deliberate way of speaking. Class, regarding accommodation for the college entrance exams, Nora came to see me this afternoon. Standing at the podium, Mr. Zhang adjusted his glasses. My take is this: where you stay is your choice, as long as you're not late. But there's one thing I want to remind you of: don't cause trouble for your classmates. As he said this, his gaze casually swept over me. I lowered my eyes, pretending to look at the exam paper. Hestia's family runs a hotel, but that's their private matter. Don't put pressure on her. You're all 18 now, time to be mature. The classroom fell silent for a few seconds. Then I heard Molly mutter under her breath, "We weren't even saying anything." Mr. Zhang ignored her and continued going over the key points for the college entrance exam. Staring, I deliberately asked on the test paper. My heart was a mix of emotions. Mr. Zhang was a good teacher. In my previous life, he had also spoken up for me when the online harassment was at its worst. He said in the class group chat, "From what I know, Hestia's hotel hasn't had any construction noise." But his words were quickly drowned out. No one listened to him. No one believed him. When the dismissal bell rang, I packed my things and got ready to leave. Suddenly, Nora stood up, walked to the podium, and picked up the blackboard eraser. She glanced back at me. On the way home, I sat on the bus, watching the street scene slowly recede outside the window. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Mom. "Hestia, the person who booked the hotel today called to say their plans have changed. They canceled 5 rooms. If your classmates need any, just let me know." I stared at the message for a long time in silence. I typed a few words, deleted them, repeated this several times, and finally replied with just one character, "Okay." 6. The next morning, I went to school as usual. As I approached the school gate, I saw a crowd gathered in front of the bulletin board. Craning to see what was posted, I moved closer and noticed a large, handwritten poster taped to the board: College Entrance Exam Study Group. Seeking accommodation. The handwriting is beautiful, clearly Nora's. She made a table below, saying that anyone who needs accommodation can sign up here, and she'll help coordinate everything. Coordinate what? Which family's hotel? I glanced at it and then walked past without stopping. When I entered the classroom, Nora was already there, sitting in her seat and talking with Molly. She looked up when she saw me come in, gave me a quick glance, then lowered her head again and continued talking to Molly. "I've already contacted several hotels and negotiated a group rate, about 40% off the original price, but the ones closest to the test center aren't willing to lower their prices at all, since they have no trouble selling out," Molly said with a worried look. "Even 40% off is still expensive. A 300 yuan room at 40% off comes to over 200, and 2 nights would be more than 500. My parents would never agree to that. There's no other choice, though," Nora sighed. "We can't exactly sleep on the street." I went straight to the back row and sat down. The view from this spot was great. I could see the entire classroom, and through the window, the plane trees on the playground. Nora glanced back at me, then turned around again. The morning classes were uneventful. Everything felt perfectly normal. The only unusual thing was that several people came to see me during break. First came Molly. "Hestia." She stood by my desk, munching on a bag of chips as she spoke. "Is your hotel really fully booked? I heard someone canceled 5 rooms yesterday. Is that true?" "Word sure travels fast." "No idea. Didn't ask." Molly pursed her lips. "How could you not know? It's your family's hotel. My parents are handling that. I just focus on my studies." Molly choked on my words a little, holding a half-eaten potato chip in her mouth, her expression a bit awkward. She stood there for 2 seconds, then turned and walked away. Then it was Silas's turn. "Hestia." He leaned against the wall, hands in his pockets, looking completely at ease. "I was wondering, could you save one of those 5 cancelled rooms at your hotel for me? I'm happy to pay. No need to give it for free. Just set one aside for me." I looked up at him. "Silas, a guy from a well-off family who always wears designer clothes. It's not that he can't afford a hotel. He wants the best hotel for the least money. You can just book it at the front desk, or book it online." "Online is expensive," Silas said with a smile. "I was just hoping to pull a few strings." "You're the owner's daughter. You can give me a discount, right?" "Sorry, I don't have The authority to make that decision. Silas's smile faded a bit. He looked at me for 2 seconds, said, "All right," and then left. Next came Howell, Tinsley, and Sienna, one after another. Their reasons varied, but the core request was the same. Can you make it cheaper? Can you hold a room? Can you help out? I didn't agree to a single one. At lunch, I sat alone in the corner of the cafeteria, with a plate of braised pork ribs and a bowl of seaweed egg drop soup in front of me. The spare ribs were braised so tender they melted in the mouth, but I didn't have much of an appetite. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Dad calling. "Hestia." My father's voice sounded a little hoarse. "Your mom said someone checked out yesterday. Does your classmate need the room? If so, your dad can hold it for them." "No need, Dad," I said, picking up a rib and chewing slowly. "Just go ahead and sell it." "Really sure?" My dad asked again. "What if your classmate has nowhere to stay and it affects their college entrance exam? You're all classmates. Help if you can." 7. Help whenever you can. That's just how my dad is, always kind to others, never imagining that someone might be utterly ungrateful. In his past life, he gave all the best rooms to my classmates and moved into the staff dorm himself. And what did he get in return? The hotel was reported and shut down. Overnight, his hair turned completely white. He was already in his 50s. "Dad, they've already found a place to stay. Don't worry about it." That's good, my dad said with relief. "Make sure you study hard, and after your exams, Dad will take you out for a great meal." "Okay." After hanging up, I finished the rest of my meal and took my tray to the sink. By the sink, I ran into a girl from the neighboring class. She didn't know me, but I knew her. In her past life, she was one of the few people who spoke up for me online. What did she say again? Something like, "I'm from the other class. I stayed at that hotel during the college entrance exams and didn't hear any construction noise." Then she got hundreds of hateful replies. They said she'd been bought, that she was lying through her teeth, and that she was an astroturfer hired by the hotel. A girl who was only a high school sophomore, bullied into deleting her account. I rinsed my plate clean, put it on the rack, and turned back to the classroom. The first class in the afternoon was English, and I paid fairly close attention. In my previous life, I did well on the English exam, but in this life, I'm going to do even better, not for anyone else, for myself. During the break, Nora stepped up to the podium again. "Everyone, I have something to tell you." Her voice sounded more confident than yesterday, as if she were announcing something momentous. "Of the hotels I contacted yesterday, one is willing to give us a 50% discount. But it's a bit far from the exam venue, about a 20-minute taxi ride." A collective groan echoed through the classroom. 20 minutes, that's way too far. How much would the taxi fare be? 2 round trips, plus the accommodation costs. We might as well just stay at the school. Exactly, and traffic is bound to be heavy on the day of the college entrance exam. A 20-minute drive could easily turn into an hour-long crawl. Nora waited for everyone to quiet down before continuing. "I agree it's a bit far, so I reached out to another place. It's only 10 minutes from the test center, but it's more expensive, over $400 a night after the discount. $400 a night, that's $900 for 2 nights. Too expensive. Forget it. I'll just stay at the school." "Same here. Staying at the school saves money and trouble." One by one, everyone gave up. Standing at the podium, Nora's expression grew subtle. Her gaze drifted toward me again, as if expecting me to say something. I didn't say anything. I kept my head down, working on my English test paper, the pen tip scratching softly against the page. Nora stood there for a few seconds, then walked down from the podium and returned to her seat. Before school let out, our homeroom teacher, Mr. Zhang, came by again. Standing at the podium, he went over the college entrance exam instructions once more, and finally brought up the matter of accommodation. "I've heard that some of you are making arrangements to stay in hotels, Mr. Zhang's tone was neither warm nor cold. "Let me say this again, where you stay is your own choice, but don't cause trouble for others, especially don't cause trouble for your classmates' families. Their hotel is a business, not a charity." After saying this, he shot a pointed glance at Nora. Nora kept her head down, her bangs covering half her face, making her expression hard to read. After Mr. Zhang left, the classroom was quiet for a few seconds, then Molly's voice rang out, not loud, but loud enough for everyone to hear. "The teacher makes it sound like we forced Hestia into something. We just asked, that's all. It's not like we did anything wrong." "Exactly," Sienna chimed in. "Besides, the Hestias are so rich. What's the big deal if they help out? It's not like we're staying for free. We already said we'd help promote the place." "Forget it," Tinsley said. "We just don't get how rich people think. Maybe she feels we're not good enough to stay at her family's hotel." 8. That was a bit harsh. The classroom fell silent for a moment. Sitting in the last row, I took in every word. My fingers gripped the pen so tightly that my knuckles turned white. "Not worthy of staying at her family's hotel." I set the pen down, took a deep breath. then stood up, grabbed my backpack, and walked out of the classroom. A faint murmur of voices came from behind me, but I didn't look back. As I walked out of the school gate, I spotted a familiar figure. Mr. Zhang was standing at the entrance, chatting with the security guard. Seeing me come out, he waved me over. Hestia, come here for a moment. I walked over and stood in front of him. Teacher Zhang looked at me, adjusted his glasses, and paused for 2 seconds before speaking. Are you okay? I was taken aback for a moment, then nodded. I'm fine. Don't listen to their nonsense. Teacher Zhang's voice was quiet but earnest. Whether your family runs a hotel is your family's business, and it has nothing to do with your classmates. Helping them is a favor, not helping them is your right. No one has the right to judge you. My nose suddenly stung a little, so I quickly lowered my head. Thank you, Mr. Zhang. Go on back, study hard, and don't let this affect you. I nodded and turned to leave. After about a dozen steps, I heard Mr. Zhang sigh behind me and say to the security guard, how have children today ended up like this? I didn't catch what the security guard said, but I figured he was probably just agreeing. On the way home, I sat on the bus, put my earphones in, and randomly played a song. The music was so loud that it drowned out every sound inside the bus. School let out 3 days before the college entrance exam. As I packed up and walked out of the classroom, I looked back over my shoulder. The countdown on the blackboard read, 3 days until the exam. The chalk letters all crooked, written by the student on duty that morning. The desks and chairs had been tossed into complete disarray, with various study materials and used scratch paper scattered across the floor. I'm never coming back to this classroom again. I slung my backpack over my shoulder and walked out of the school gate. The sunlight felt warm and pleasant on my face. My phone buzzed with a message from Mom. Hestia, the 5 hotel checkouts have all been sold, at full price, not a single one left. Standing at the school gate, I typed a few words, deleted them, and finally replied with just one character, okay. Just as I tucked my phone into my pocket, I heard hurried footsteps behind me. Hestia. I turned around and saw Nora jogging up to catch me. She was wearing a white hoodie, her hair tied back in a ponytail, with a thin layer of sweat on her face. She looked a bit anxious, nearly tripping as she ran. She stopped about 2 steps away from me, bent over, and caught her breath. Why are you walking so fast? I called out to you several times, but you didn't hear me. There was a hint of complaint in her voice. I didn't hear you, I said. Nora straightened up, glanced at me, and then bit her lip. Hestia, I'd like to talk with you. About what? We're at least deskmates and friends. You've been avoiding me for days, and it really hurts. Her eyes were red as she said this, her voice trembling slightly. She genuinely seemed upset. I looked at her and suddenly found it ridiculous. In my past life, when my family's hotel was reported and shut down, she cried even harder in front of the camera. Nora, I'm not avoiding you. Then why did you move to the back row? Why won't you eat with me anymore? Why won't you give me a straight answer when I ask about the hotel? 9. She fired off 3 questions in a row, each one laced with hurt. I looked at her face, the face I'd seen for 3 years, beautiful, gentle, and understanding. Every time I failed an exam, she was always the first to comfort me. Every time I was sick and missed class, she'd copy the notes for me and bring them to my home. The friendship between us, in my eyes, was the kind that could last a lifetime. Yet this was the very person who destroyed my home with his own hands. Nora, I began, my voice calm. I already told you about the hotel. It's fully booked. You asked me directly, and I gave you my answer. It's booked. If you don't believe me, what else can I do? Nora froze for a moment, her lips parting as if to speak, but no words came out. As for me moving to the back seat, I continued, it's too noisy in the front row, and I want to review in peace. As for meals, I'd like to eat alone. Do I need to report all of this to you? Nora's face went pale. Hestia, that's not what I meant. Just what? I cut her off. Just because my family has money, we should give you 50 rooms for free. Just because I'm your friend, I should fix everything for you, and if I don't, that makes me stingy, selfish, and unworthy of being your friend. Nora took a step back, and the tears in her eyes finally fell. I didn't mean it like that. I really didn't. You didn't. Then what did you tell the other students? My voice rose slightly without meaning to. You stood at the podium and told the whole class that my family's hotel is right next to the exam venue, that my family is rich, and that staying for 2 nights is nothing to us. How many times have I helped you guys? When have you ever helped me? Nora's tears fell even harder. She wiped them away with the back of her hand, her shoulders shaking. Hestia, I really didn't mean it like that. I was just trying to find a convenient place for everyone to stay. I didn't mean anything else. Why did you have to bring up my family just to find everyone a Convenient place to stay, because your place is the closest. So what? Does that mean I should just do it for free? Nora fell silent, tears streaming down her face. A few classmates passing by on the side of the road slowed down when they saw us talking, their eyes darting back and forth between us. Ignoring them, I hitched my backpack higher on my shoulder and turned to walk away. Hestia, Nora called out from behind me. I didn't look back. When I got home, Mom was cooking in the kitchen. She was wearing a floral apron, her hair casually tied back, a smile on her face. She's always like that. No matter how busy or tired she is, she smiles when she sees me. Hestia, you're back. Go wash your hands. I made your favorite spare rib soup. I changed my shoes, walked into the kitchen, and gave her a hug from behind. Caught off guard by my sudden embrace, Mom nearly dropped the spatula into the pot. What's wrong? Nothing. I just wanted to hug you. My mom smiled and reached out to pat the back of my hand. All right, go wash your hands. The soup is almost ready. I let go of her, went to the bathroom to wash my hands, and sat down at the table. My dad came out of his study, holding a stack of documents, with reading glasses perched on his nose. Hestia, I'll drive you to the exam hall on the 2 days of the college entrance exam. No need, Dad. I can go by myself. It's not far. That won't do. The college entrance exam is such a big deal. I have to take you. My dad set the documents down on the table, took off his reading glasses, and looked at me with pure affection in his eyes. Looking at his face, I thought of how he had looked with a full head of white hair in my previous life, and my eyes instantly welled up. What's wrong? My mother was walking out of the kitchen carrying a bowl of soup when she saw the look on my face and jumped in surprise. Hestia, what's wrong? Nothing, I said, lowering my head and blinking hard a few times. It's the chili. It's spicy. My mother glanced at the untouched dishes on the table, paused for a couple of seconds, and chose not to call me out. During the meal, my father brought up the hotel matter again. Hestia, does your classmate really not need a room? The 2 days of the college entrance exam are bound to be stressful. If she stays too far away and doesn't rest well, that could hurt her performance, and that would be a real problem. I put a piece of spare rib into my mouth and chewed slowly, not answering right away. That's just how my dad is, always thinking of others. His whole life, in over a decade of running the hotel, he never once kicked out a guest who couldn't pay the bill. One year, when a snowstorm closed the highway, hundreds of stranded travelers came down from the road. Every other hotel in the area raised its prices, but my family's hotel kept a regular rate and even gave out free hot ginger tea and blankets. The story later made the local news. When a reporter came to interview him, my dad just said into the camera, "Everyone has it tough when they're away from home, and yet, a man this good was driven to the edge in his previous life. Dad, they'll handle it themselves. You don't need to worry." 10. My dad was about to say something else when my mom kicked him under the table. "Enough," she said. "If Hestia says it's not necessary, then it's not necessary. Why do you have to meddle so much?" My dad winced from the kick and obediently lowered his head to eat. Watching them, a wave of bitterness welled up inside me. I couldn't protect them in my past life. This time, it's my turn. On the last day before the college entrance exam, I went to school to pick up my admission ticket. A few scattered students sat in the classroom, all making one last desperate effort. Nora wasn't there, and neither was Molly. Only a couple of boys who rarely spoke in class were dozing at their desks. I grabbed my ticket and headed out, running into Mr. Zhang at the door. "Hestia, don't rush to check the answers after the exam. Just get some good rest." "Got it, thank you, Teacher Zhang, and don't worry about the gossip, just focus on your exams." I nodded and walked out of the teaching building. On the playground, some were playing basketball, while others lay on the grass soaking up the sun. Everything felt so normal that it seemed like none of the things from my previous life had ever happened, but I knew they had. I remembered every detail. On the day of the college entrance exam, my dad got up at 6 in the morning. He wore a red shirt, hoping it would bring good luck. My mom also put on a red dress and slipped a red envelope into my backpack, inside which was 66 yuan, symbolizing everything going smoothly. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but I didn't refuse. The exam site was indeed very close to home, just a 5-minute walk away. My dad insisted on seeing me off, and since I couldn't talk him out of it, I let him. The entrance to the exam hall was packed with people, students, parents, teachers, police officers, and volunteers, forming a dense, dark crowd. Some were crying while clutching their admission tickets, others were laughing in their parents' arms, a few were frantically flipping through notes for one last review, and many were taking deep breaths to calm their nerves. Standing in the crowd, I took a deep breath. College entrance exam, here I come. The first subject was Chinese. In my previous life, I scored 112. Not bad, but nothing impressive either. This time, I came fully prepared. The Essay topic was heritage. I wrote about my family's hotel, about my father, a man who was kind to everyone he met, and about the values he taught me. When I wrote the very last word, my eyes felt a little warm. The second exam was math, my strong subject. In my previous life, I scored 135. This time, I came prepared. I had reviewed every knowledge point and practiced the tricky problems over and over. Countless times, when I handed in the paper, I was confident, at least 140. Then came English, and after that, the comprehensive humanities test. As I took each exam, I grew more steady and more comfortable. When the bell rang for the final exam, I put down my pen, leaned back in my chair, and let out a long breath. It's over. The college entrance exam is over. When I walked out of the exam hall, the sun was blazing so brightly it stunned my eyes. My dad was waiting at the school gate, holding a bouquet of flowers, smiling so wide his eyes crinkled into slits. Hestia, he waved at me, excited as a child. I ran over, took the flowers, and gave him a tight hug. How did the exam go? He asked. Pretty good. That's great, my dad said, patting me on the back. Come on, I'll take you out for a big feast. My mom appeared from the side, also holding a bouquet. Seeing that I had already hugged my dad for his flowers, she shot him a slightly displeased look. You sure are fast. My dad chuckled twice but didn't dare say anything. I smiled and took the flowers from my mom, putting one arm around her and the other around my dad as the three of us walked toward the car. A few steps later, I saw Nora. She was standing at the exam entrance, surrounded by a few classmates, and she didn't look well. Molly was saying something beside her, but Nora shook her head, her eyes red as if she had been crying. I didn't stop. I just walked past her. She saw me. The moment our eyes met, her expression shifted. Her lips parted slightly, as if she wanted to say something. I didn't give her the chance. 3 days after the college entrance exams ended, the results weren't out yet, but the internet was already buzzing. Posts estimating scores, comparing answers, and venting about the test questions were everywhere. I was at home scrolling through my phone when suddenly, I came across a post. Its title read, "Whatever you do, don't stay at XX hotel during the 2 days of the exams. The noise is so loud you won't be able to sleep at all." I was taken aback. When I clicked to read more, it turned out they were talking about my family's hotel. The poster's ID was unfamiliar, with a flower as their profile picture, and their registration date showed they had joined just 3 days ago. The post read, "I booked this hotel right before my college entrance exam, but every night after 10 o'clock, there was construction, drilling and hammering that went on until 2 or 3 in the morning. I called the front desk 3 times to complain, and each time they said they'd handle it, but the noise never stopped. The night before the exam, I only got 3 hours of sleep. My mind was completely foggy during the test the next day. Everyone, steer clear of this place. Don't ever stay here." There were already several comments below the post. "Oh my god, that's way too much. Construction during the college entrance exam period. I've heard of this hotel. I think it's a 5-star, right? And this is 5-star service. My heart goes out to the OP, having your college entrance exam messed up like that. I would have been crying my eyes out. File a complaint, call 12345 to report them. Hotels like this need to be shut down for a cleanup." I stared at the screen, my fingers trembling slightly. 11. In my past life, Nora's post was just like this. She said she was staying at my family's hotel, couldn't sleep because of the construction noise in the middle of the night, and then bombed the exam the next day. That post only had a few comments at first, but then someone screenshotted it and posted it on Weibo, where it went viral, and after that, things spiraled out of control. In this life, she didn't stay at my family's hotel. All the rooms there were sold to strangers, and she stayed somewhere else. But this post still appeared, only this time, the poster had a different username and a different identity. I took a deep breath and clicked on that user's profile. There was just one post, nothing else. The account followed no one, had no followers, and even the profile picture was the system's default flower icon, a standard bot account. I took a screenshot and sent the post link to my dad. "Dad, someone's spreading rumors online that our hotel was doing construction during the college entrance exams." He picked up right away, his voice a bit tense. "What? Let me see." About a minute later, my dad called me back. "Hestia, I read the post. It's complete nonsense. There wasn't any construction near our hotel during those 2 days of the exams. Even the city halted all public projects. How could there be any noise?" "I know it's fake, Dad. Don't panic just yet. Not many people have seen this post so far, but if we don't address it, it could easily spread. I'll contact the lawyer right away and have them handle it." "Okay." After hanging up, I scrolled back to that post and saw that over a dozen new comments had already been added. Someone started questioning it. I stayed at that same hotel during my college entrance exams and didn't hear any construction noise. Then someone immediately replied, "Are you a paid Shill for the hotel, I've seen this kind of PR spin way too many times, another person said. Even if there's no construction, posting something like this is still disgusting, spreading such a rumor during the exams. Aren't you afraid of karma? I read through them one by one, and the more I read, the calmer I became. In my previous life, when I saw these comments, my whole body trembled, I cried so hard I could barely breathe, and I desperately wanted to rush through the screen to explain myself to everyone who criticized me. This life is different. In this life, I know exactly what to do. I opened the class group chat after the college entrance exam. The class group chat was as lively as a bustling market, with hundreds or even thousands of messages every day. Some were planning graduation trips, some were arranging thank you dinners for teachers, others were sharing funny videos, and a few were posting their score estimates. I scrolled back up and saw a message from Nora. So annoyed, I think I bombed the math exam, couldn't solve the last part of the final question at all. A dozen or so people had replied below, trying to comfort her. I scrolled up further, to the day before the college entrance exam. Molly had posted, Nora, which hotel are you staying at? Is it far from the exam venue? Nora replied, we're staying at a band B. It's about a 15-minute taxi ride from the exam venue. A bit far, but no choice. All the nearby hotels are fully booked, Tinsley replied. It's all Hestia's fault. Her family runs a hotel, and even though they had rooms, she didn't save any for us. Now everyone's scrambling to find a place to stay. After this message was sent, no one picked up the conversation. A moment later, Molly sent a sighing emoji. Then someone else said, forget it, you can't force someone to help if they don't want to. The tone was casual, but beneath that casualness lay an unspoken sense of resentment. I felt nothing as I read these messages. I left the class group chat and opened Weibo. As expected, that post had been reposted to Weibo. The repost came from a marketing account with a modest following of about 50,000 to 60,000. Once reposted, the post was given a sensational headline: construction at a 5-star hotel during college entrance exams disturbs residents, students unable to file complaints, get only 3 hours of sleep. The number of shares has already exceeded 500, and the comment section looks much the same as the post itself. Almost everyone is condemning the hotel for being unethical. I took a screenshot and saved it, then I sent a message to my dad. Dad, the post has been shared on Weibo, and it's already got over 500 shares. My dad replied instantly, I've already contacted a lawyer, and we're gathering evidence. Also, I've asked someone to check the surveillance footage from near the hotel on the days of the college entrance exam, to see if any construction vehicles came through. Do you have the footage? Yes, there are 2 cameras right at our hotel entrance, facing both sides of the street. I've had someone pull the footage from the 2 days before and 2 days after the exam. It's crystal clear, no construction at all. I breathed a sigh of relief. Dad, don't send it out yet, wait for the lawyer's opinion. Okay. 12. Over the next 2 days, the post went viral. More and more aggregator accounts jumped on the bandwagon, using increasingly sensational headlines. Some even went as far as claiming that 5-star hotels were disregarding students' well-being just to make money. The post easily garnered over 1 million views. The comment section has completely gone to ruin. 99% of the tens of thousands of comments are cursing my family's hotel. The call from the Cultural and Tourism Bureau came through to my dad's phone, and the tone was very stern. They said they were coming to investigate. Then the Housing and Urban Rural Development Bureau called, saying they were coming to measure the noise levels. Everything was exactly the same as in the previous life, but in this life, what was different was that the guests staying at the hotel didn't remain silent. During those 2 days of the college entrance exams, the hotel was filled with strangers. Some were exam takers, others were parents accompanying their children. One of the exam takers posted a long message on Weibo, titled, I'm the student who stayed at that hotel during the college entrance exam, and I want to say a few things. In the post, they wrote, I came from out of town to take the exam and booked this hotel a month in advance. During the 2 days of the exam, I stayed here and didn't hear any construction noise. The service was excellent. The front desk knew I had an exam the next day and specially prepared a box of milk and 2 slices of bread for me, saying it was a free breakfast. I don't know who made that original post, but I can honestly say that I slept well both nights and did just fine on my exam. Please don't ruin a good hotel's reputation without evidence. After this post went up, the comments exploded. Another page shill, how much did they give you? The hotel's astroturfing is everywhere. Account's only been active for 2 days. Clearly a brand new sock puppet. 5-star hotels really have money to burn. They even hire such professional astroturfers. That test taker got flamed in hundreds of comments, so furious that he fired back in the replies, I'm not an astroturfer. I'm a guest who actually stayed at this hotel, believe it or not. Then the attacks got even worse. Watching this farce unfold, I couldn't quite put my finger on what I was feeling. In my past life, not one of those 50 classmates who stayed at my family's hotel spoke up in this life. A stranger who stayed at my family's hotel spoke up, only to be torn apart as a paid shill. That's just how the internet works. People only believe what they want to believe. They need a villain, a target to vent their anger on. The person who posted the rumor gave them a target, and they didn't hesitate to shoot every arrow they had. As for whether the target is actually bad, no one really cares. The turning point came with an official account called Construction Updates around the college entrance exam venues. It was run by the city's education bureau, rarely updated, and had only a few thousand followers, but it sent a message on the fourth day after the college entrance exams ended, regarding the recent online rumor that a hotel construction site caused disturbances during the college entrance exams. Our bureau takes the matter very seriously. After investigation, we confirmed that during the exam period, June 7th to June 9th, all construction sites within 2 kilometers of exam venues were ordered to suspend work. The hotel falls within this area, and no construction activity was found nearby. This is the official statement. After this statement was released, public opinion began to shift. Some started questioning the original poster, since the authorities say there was no construction. Where did the noise in that post come from? Could it be fake news? Oh my god, making up such a rumor during the college entrance exams, that's just vicious. Come out and say something. OP, at Flourishing Summer, the account named Flourishing Summer has vanished. The post is still there, but the original poster has never reappeared. I clicked in and took a look. The comment section had already been overrun, with everyone calling the OP a liar spreading rumors. Someone dug up the registration time and IP address of that account. It was created on the day the college entrance exams ended, and the IP traced back to a residential area in some city. Someone followed that IP address and found out that the residential area was far from the exam venue, nowhere near where that hotel could have been. More and more people began to question and dig into the truth. In the end, someone uncovered the real identity behind that account. It turned out to be a high school senior from a financially struggling family. After failing the college entrance exam, she broke down emotionally and vented online. It wasn't Nora. Staring at the result, I was stunned. Not Nora. I scoured every post, every comment, every repost, but Nora's name was nowhere to be found. She hadn't posted, commented, liked, or done anything at all. It was as if she had vanished. The day the college entrance exam results came out, I was at home eating watermelon. The results were released at 3:00 p.m. I was already in front of the computer at 2:58, my heart pounding. In my previous life, I scored 561, just above the first-year university cutoff line. I am different in this life. At 3 o'clock sharp, I refreshed the page. Total score, 643 points, Chinese 126, Mathematics 141, English 138, Comprehensive Humanities 238. I stared at the numbers on the screen for 5 seconds, then let out a scream. Mom, Dad, the results are out. My mom rushed out of the kitchen, her hands still wet and her apron covered in grease stains. My dad dashed out of his study, losing one of his slippers along the way. What's the score? 643-13. My mom was stunned for a moment, then she hugged me tightly and burst into tears. My father stood beside me, his eyes reddening. His lips trembled several times before he finally managed to say, "Good, good, good." He said good 3 times, each one filled with deep emotion. I hugged my mother, and tears started streaming down my face too. In my previous life, I never made them proud. In this one, I did. After the results came out, the class group chat completely exploded. Some rejoiced, others mourned. Screenshots of scores flooded the chat, some showing 680, others barely over 400. Molly scored a 532 and posted a crying emoji in the group chat. Tinsley scored a 509 and said she'd be grateful just to get into a second-tier university. Silas scored a 578, was fairly satisfied, and had already started researching university applications. Howell scored a 541, posted a single sigh, and then went silent. Sienna scored a 498 and left the group chat immediately. I scrolled for a while but didn't see Nora's score anywhere. She didn't post anything, but someone tagged her in the group chat. Nora, what score did you get? Yeah, Nora, didn't you say you bombed the math test? How bad was it? Nora, say something. Nora didn't reply. About 10 minutes later, Molly sent a message in the group chat. I just called Nora, but she didn't answer. A few more minutes passed, and Tinsley said, I tried calling too, her phone's off. The chat went quiet for a while, and then people started guessing. She didn't really bomb the exam, did she? She mentioned earlier that she couldn't figure out the last math question and got several big problems wrong. Still, no reason to turn off her phone. What score did she actually get? No one knows. I'd like to know too, not because I care about her, but because I want to confirm something. In her previous life, Nora scored 547, not particularly bad, but she told everyone she bombed the exam because of the noise from my house. In this life, she didn't stay at my family's hotel, she booked a guest house a 15-minute drive from the exam venue. What score did she get? If she bombs the exam, at least it'll prove it has nothing to do with where she lives. The problem is her. I waited 3 days for this answer. 3 days later, Nora posted a message in the class group. I got 478. The group chat fell completely silent for a full 10 seconds, then it exploded. What? 478? Nora, come on, you usually score above 550 on your practice tests. What happened? Did you miscalculate your score? Should you request a res score? 478, nearly 70 points lower than in the previous life. I stared at the number, a mix of emotions welling up inside me. She really bombed the exam, without the noise from my place, without construction disturbances, without any external factors at all. She still bombed it. But I don't care anymore. I left the class group chat. It wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. It was something I'd been thinking about for a long time. I don't need to have any contact with these people anymore. They didn't need my help, and I didn't need their thanks. Between us, we're even. Letting go is more freeing than holding on. That night, lying in bed scrolling through my phone, I suddenly received a private message. It was from Molly. Hestia, why did you leave the group today? I didn't reply. After a while, she sent another message. I know you have an issue with us, but we've been in the same class for 3 years. Come on. I still didn't respond. A third message came right after. Are you upset about the hotel thing? We were just talking casually back then. It's not like we actually forced you to do anything. I stared at the message, the corner of my mouth twitching. Just idle gossip. You just idly gossiped. And my family's hotel was reported and shut down. You just idly gossiped, and my parents' hair turned gray overnight. You just idly gossiped, and my life was ruined once again. Just idle gossip. Those 4 words are probably the most convenient excuse in the world. I typed a few words, then deleted them. Never mind. It's not worth it. I deleted Molly's private message, put my phone on the nightstand, turned over, and closed my eyes. Tomorrow, I'm going to visit a university. A university very, very far away, so far that I'll never see those faces again. Story 2. At the Mid-Autumn Festival in my past life, I was forced by influencer Isla to exchange bridal bouquets with her. She claimed it was a tradition for exchanging happiness. I only found out later that she had been secretly in love with my husband for 10 years. That bouquet was a curse she had meticulously designed. A month later, she barged into my bridal suite with her entire family in tow. Then she pushed me off the 23rd floor. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in that moment. Our wedding cars cross paths. It's tradition for the bride to exchange her bouquet, otherwise it's bad luck. She held up her live-streaming phone, her smile as sweet as poison. I slowly raised the bouquet of white chrysanthemums in my hands. Sure, I'll trade with you. My wedding procession was stopped on the road to the hotel. This wasn't a traffic jam, it was a row of obnoxiously modified sports cars, aggressively cutting off and forcing our lead vehicle to a halt. The screech of tires pierced the air. My body lurched forward from the sudden deceleration. My expensive beaded crown nearly flew off my head. Connor, my groom, immediately wrapped his arms around me to steady me. Are you all right, Meredith? He asked, his voice tense with concern. I shook my head, but my heart sank. This scene feels all too familiar. Memories from a past life pierced my mind like an ice pick. Chapter 1. The same date, the same place. That self-proclaimed influencer Isla stopped my wedding car with her live-streaming crew in tow. She claimed it was tradition for the bride to exchange bouquets with her as if kindred spirit, a swap for shared happiness. I actually fell for it. Like a fool, I traded my bouquet of lily of the valley, symbolizing pure happiness, for her equally exquisite-looking arrangement. That was no exchange of blessings, it was a curse she had meticulously orchestrated. Something had been tampered with in that bouquet. The woman who had been secretly in love with my husband Connor for 10 years. Unable to win his affection, cursed my marriage in the most vicious way. She broke into my home with her violent boyfriend. On my and Connor's wedding anniversary, she pushed me from our 23rd floor apartment. The weightless sensation of falling still lingers deep in my bones. Cold, despair. Meredith, you're so pale. Connor's warm hand touched my cheek, pulling me back to the present. I lifted my gaze and looked out the car window. The woman in the white dress, styled to look pure and innocent, glided gracefully forward. She held up her live-streaming phone, surrounded by a crowd of assistants and cameramen. It wasn't Isla. In this life, she went by Hazel, the same poison in a different bottle. She tapped on my car window. Her smile was sweet, but her eyes were like venom-tipped needles, piercing right through me, even through the glass. I could hear her cooing into her live stream. Look, everyone, here's the happiest bride of the day. Let's follow the old tradition and pass around the bridal bouquet for good luck. I hope I can find my soulmate soon too. The live stream chat was scrolling by so fast, even though I couldn't make out the words. I could guess the kind of vulgar comments being posted. Hazel is so beautiful, so kind. I want to catch the bouquet for good luck too. Who is this bride anyway? She looks so mean-spirited, totally out of Connor's league. I heard Connor used to date our Hazel. Do you think the bride stole him away? Change it. You have to. If you don't, it means you're guilty. If you don't, you're petty. If you don't, I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. Let's get #Meredith the Schemer trending. Public opinion can be ruthless. Online mobs always side with the better performer before the truth comes out. In my past life, I was pressured by these traditions and public opinion into reluctantly exchanging flowers with her. Only later did I find out. Connor was visibly displeased at the time and tried to intervene, but Hazel was sobbing and insinuating that Connor was fickle, dropping his old flame for a new one. The live stream went absolutely wild. All the blame was pinned on me. They accused me of being the other woman who stole him away. They accused me of using my family's influence to drive away Connor's true love. The Connor family was disgraced by the scandal, and our wedding commenced under a cloud of judgmental whispers. It's suffocating, absolutely suffocating. 1 year later. Meredith, you don't have to change if you don't want to. I'll handle it. Connor's brow furrowed, his tone leaving no room for doubt as he stood up for her. He clearly recognized Hazel too, but there was only disgust in his eyes, not a trace of their past affection. I knew he could pull it off. The Connors were a powerful family, and he himself was no pushover. But this time, I won't settle for just driving you away. Hazel, the tradition you've been asking for, you shall have it. I pressed Connor's hand and gave him a reassuring smile. It's all right, Connor, since it's tradition, then we'll follow tradition. I picked up the unique bridal bouquet that had been prepared earlier on the seat beside me. It wasn't lily of the valley, it wasn't roses, nor was it that so-called bouquet of happiness from her past life, which she had tampered with. Instead, it was a hand-tied bouquet, meticulously arranged with white chrysanthemums and a few sprigs of green foliage, just as I thought, pure white. Elegantly simple, yet it carried an untimely solemnity and desolation. White chrysanthemums, in memory of the departed. Using this at a wedding is nothing short of a vicious curse. This is something I prepared specifically for myself, and for Hazel. After my rebirth, Connor was visibly taken aback when he saw the bouquet, but he didn't ask anything. He just held my hand tighter. Unconditional trust. I took a deep breath and pushed the car door open. The sunlight was a bit too bright. I stood there in my expensive white wedding dress, surrounded by a fleet of luxury wedding cars and sports cars. Across from me was Hazel, phone in hand, with a perfectly flawless smile, and behind her, her team who were always up for some drama, along with the growing crowd of onlookers. The bride is finally getting out of the car. Hazel's voice was full of pleasant surprise, but a hint of triumphant satisfaction flashed in her eyes. She pointed her phone camera directly at me, refusing to budge. Bride, changing the bouquet is a tradition passed down from our ancestors. It's bad luck not to. Her voice was soft, yet the threat in her words was unmistakable. See, millions of our dear viewers in the live stream are watching. Everyone hopes we can exchange our happiness. You wouldn't want to let them down, would you? The live chat started going wild again. Change it. Hurry up and change. Why is the bride dragging her feet? Is she too scared to do it? She's definitely hiding something. She might actually be the other woman. Don't hold back, Hazel. If she won't change, tear her to pieces. I stared at her hypocritical face. I remembered the deranged, venomous look in her eyes when she barged into my home with her boyfriend in our previous life. I recalled what she whispered in my ear as she pushed me off the balcony. Connor has always loved me, just I. Hatred grew like weeds, spreading wildly in my heart, yet on my face bloomed a smile more perfect and tender than hers. See, slowly, I raised the bouquet of white chrysanthemums in my hand. The petals glared blindingly white under the sun. All right, my voice was clear, tinged with just the right blend of shyness and anticipation. I'll trade with you. The surrounding clamor seemed to hit a mute button. The perfect smile on Hazel's face froze in place. Her eyes widened in disbelief as she stared at the bouquet of white chrysanthemums in my hand. Her assistant behind her gasped sharply. Even the live stream chat fell into a momentary freeze. Holy shit, white chrysanthemums. Am I seeing things? White chrysanthemums as a wedding bouquet. What's the bride thinking? Is she cursing herself or Hazel? This feels seriously off. Hazel's face turned from pale to ashen, then flushed crimson. Absolutely spectacular. She probably never expected me to break the mold and present such an unlucky bouquet. What do you mean by this? Her voice trembled slightly, and even her hand pointing at the white chrysanthemums was shaking. I continued to smile gently and innocently, extending it further toward her. What's the matter, Miss He? Isn't this exactly the tradition You wanted. This bouquet of mine was specially blessed by a master. It symbolizes a peaceful journey to the afterlife, an early ascent to paradise. I think it suits you perfectly. Come, let's exchange our happiness. I emphasized the word happiness with deliberate weight. Hazel's face darkened completely. She glared at me with a look that could devour me whole. The camera remained fixed on her. She was caught between a rock and a hard place. If she accepted it, what would it say about her? Holding this cursed bouquet of white chrysanthemums, this hot potato, during her livestream, if she refused, she'd be contradicting her own words about tradition and sharing in the joy, making a fool of herself. The atmosphere in the livestream began to shift subtly. Sorry, I laughed, but this bride is something else, eternal peace in the afterlife, ascending to paradise soon. Now that's some next level blessing. Hazel's face just turned green. Ha ha ha, so who's actually cursing who here? Something feels off about this. The more you think about it, the more unsettling it becomes. Connor had somehow gotten out of the car and was now standing beside me. He stood tall and straight, imposing in his custom-tailored groom's attire. His gaze swept coldly over Hazel and the line of sports cars behind her before finally settling on the live-streaming phone. Miss He, my wife has agreed to your custom. Proceed. Once you're done, clear the way immediately. You're making me miss my auspicious hour. He paused, his tone icy and biting. I'm afraid you can't handle the consequences. Hazel shivered under Connor's piercing gaze, watching Connor shield me. Her eyes instantly welled up with tears of hurt and resentment. Connor, how could you just stand by and let her treat me like this? Back in those days, we never had any relationship back then. Connor cut her off bluntly, his voice dripping with disgust. Stop spouting nonsense and slandering my wife's reputation. Hazel's tears finally began to fall. Connor, Hazel, Connor, are you even a man? Look how heartbroken Hazel is. This marriage is doomed. Just you wait. But some clear-headed bystanders began to speak up. Wait, why do I get the feeling the groom is really protective of the bride? Doesn't seem like there's any old flame there. Hazel keeps dodging the real issue. Does she even dare to accept that bouquet of white chrysanthemums? Wasn't blocking the wedding car wrong in the first place, and now you're pulling this moral blackmail. Hazel was caught between a rock and a hard place as she stared at the white chrysanthemums right in front of her. It was as if she were looking at something utterly vile and terrifying. Finally, under the gaze of countless cameras and eyes, clenching her teeth, she practically snatched the bouquet of pink roses from her own hands and thrust it into mine. Then, with trembling hands, she accepted my pristine white chrysanthemums. The cold touch sent a shiver through her entire body. It felt like clutching something ominous. Her smile was more unsettling than a grimace. The live chat was completely polarized. Some were cursing me, others felt sorry for her, and a few started questioning her. Sensing there was more to the story, I took the bouquet of seemingly lovely pink roses from her and brought it to my nose for a gentle sniff. A cold smirk tugged at the corner of my lips. Hazel, a curse. You owe me. You owe Connor, I'll collect every last penny with interest. Your path to internet fame, your delusions, everything you hold dear, I will crush it all with my own hands. Now, will you step aside? I lifted my gaze to Hazel's ashen face, my voice gentle yet carrying undeniable authority. Her live stream was still running. Millions watched as she stood there clutching white chrysanthemums, pale-faced and utterly disheveled. Her knuckles turned white around the flower stems, nails digging so deep they nearly pierced through. The venom in her eyes was practically dripping with malice. Connor stopped looking at her and shielded me as we got back into the wedding car. The motorcade slowly began to move, leaving behind that absurd farce, and Hazel standing rigidly with white chrysanthemums in her hands. The motorcade arrived at the hotel. A red carpet was rolled out, leading to a floral archway. Guests gathered in elegant attire, creating a vibrant and sophisticated atmosphere. Everything was luxurious and perfect. If we set aside that little scene on the way here, Connor and I walked hand in hand down the red carpet. His hand held mine firmly, his palm warm and dry. Don't worry, Meredith, he said softly. I've got you. I nodded, but remained vigilant deep down. Hazel wouldn't let this go so easily. The ceremony had just ended, and we had just entered the banquet hall. Then the trouble started. Hazel's here. She showed up uninvited. She was wearing a garish bright red dress with such an exaggerated design it almost looked like a simple wedding gown. She was accompanied by several people holding up phones, clearly members of her team. She walked straight to the head table. Seated there were our parents, along with our closest family and friends, Uncle Cheng, Auntie Cheng. Hazel's voice was sickly sweet, her face adorned with a flawless smile. Congratulations. Her gaze shifted to my parents. After a brief pause, her smile deepened. Uncle Moo, Auntie Moo, it's lovely to see you. My parents' expressions darkened. They had clearly heard about the incident of stopping the carriage to exchange flowers on the road, Missy," my father said in a low voice. "If I recall correctly, the invitation doesn't seem to have been delivered to you." The unspoken dismissal in his tone was unmistakable. Hazel acted as if she didn't understand. She waved that garish bouquet of white chrysanthemums in her hand. She'd actually brought it all the way inside. "Uncle Moo, have you forgotten?" She blinked her innocent eyes. "I exchanged bouquets with the bride, according to tradition. This makes me the bearer of blessings, so I'm entitled to sit at the main table." Her assistant's phone camera was pointed directly at us, completely unabashed. The live stream title had been changed at some point. Inside the lavish wedding, unmasking the replacement bride, the comment feed was going wild. "Hazel is killing it. Straight to the VIP table. The gift bearer deserves the VIP seat. Go Hazel. The bride's family is so stingy, no sense of etiquette at all. Red power suit. Hazel is slaying the entire event, a stand-in bride. What does that mean? Is there some juicy gossip?" My mother-in-law's face turned ashen, and she was just about to speak. I gently pressed her hand. "Dad, Mom," I said with a calm smile, "a guest is a guest. Since Missy is so eager to share in the festive spirit, let's add a seat for her. After all," I said meaningfully, glancing at Hazel, "it's not every day you see someone clutching white chrysanthemums and forcing their way into a celebration." In an instant, the smile on Hazel's face froze for a moment. Her fingers tightened around the white chrysanthemums. I swallowed my pride and sat down on the chair her assistant brought over, right across from where Connor and I were seated. She deliberately placed that bouquet of white chrysanthemums in the most prominent spot on the table. The pure white petals stood out starkly against the sea of festive red decorations, like a curse. Like a funeral parlor display, guests' glances drifted over with subtle intensity, whispering among themselves. Whispers filled the air. The atmosphere grew eerie. A heavy tension radiated from Connor. His knuckles turned white as he gripped the glass. I could tell he was holding back, for my sake, to keep this wedding from turning into a complete farce. The toast round, Connor and I went from table to table, glasses in hand, making our rounds. Hazel trailed us like a ghost, keeping a constant distance. Her live stream camera remained fixed on us the entire time. It was the head table's turn. We had just reached my parents. Suddenly, the situation took an unexpected turn. Hazel let out a startled gasp. Her body was shoved backward by some invisible force. She fell straight back. The wineglass slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. The breaking sound was sharp and piercing. Crimson wine splashed onto her scarlet skirt, spreading into darker stains. She collapsed to the ground, one hand bracing her weight while the other clutched her chest. Her eyes instantly welled up with tears. Tears brimmed in her eyes, threatening to fall. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with terror and disbelief. "Miss Moo, why did you push me?" The sound wasn't loud, but in the relatively quiet main table area, it was clear enough for everyone to hear. It was also clearly picked up by the live stream microphone. Holy shit, they're actually fighting. Did she just push someone in front of all these people? What a vicious bride. Is it because Hazel wore red? Jealousy really brings out the worst in people. She must be feeling guilty, afraid Hazel would expose her as a fraud. "Call the police. We need to call the police." Several assistants from her team immediately swarmed around me. They fumbled to support me while the camera lens remained fixed on my face, trying to capture any hint of panic. The eyes of all the guests were instantly focused on me. Shock, confusion, and disdain. My parents and in-laws were livid. Connor stepped in front of me, his gaze sharp as a blade as it pierced through Hazel. "Hazel, have you had enough of this charade?" Hazel flinched under Connor's piercing stare. The tears finally fell. "Connor, I know you're defending her, but she still shouldn't have hit me. I just wanted to wish you both well." She wept with trembling shoulders, looking utterly pitiful. It was a stark contrast to me standing behind Connor, expressionless. The court of public opinion instantly shifted. "Meredith." Connor turned his head to look at me, his eyes questioning. I gave him a slight shake of my head, then I gently pushed aside the arm he was using to shield me and took a step forward. I looked down at Hazel, who was sitting on the ground, completely absorbed in her performance. "I pushed you," I said, my tone utterly calm and even. It was you," Hazel insisted stubbornly, her eyes brimming with tears. "When you passed by, you deliberately elbowed me hard." "Oh, really?" Meredith leaned in closer, lowering my voice so only the two of us and the nearest camera could hear. "Missy, are you absolutely certain it was my elbow that struck you?" My gaze drifted almost imperceptibly toward the hand she was using to support herself on the ground. On her wrist, a subtle silver bracelet caught and reflected the light. Hazel's eyes darted away, a flicker of unease crossing her features that was almost imperceptible, but it was quickly drowned out by a fresh wave of tears. "It was you. So many people here saw it. Miss Moo, I know you've never liked me, but today is your wedding day with Connor. How could you? She was choked with sobs, as if she had suffered the gravest injustice. Not like you. I straightened up, scanning the circle of guests with varied expressions in those flashing camera lenses. My voice rose, carrying clearly all around. Missy, this is our first time meeting. Before this, I didn't even know you existed. Why would I have any reason to dislike you, and why would I push you? Hazel sobbed, lifting her tear-filled eyes. Her eyes held the desperate resolve of someone burning their bridges, mixed with a secret triumph. Because you're afraid I'll tell the truth, afraid I'll tell everyone that you, Meredith, are just a stand-in because you look a bit like me. That's the only reason Brother Connor uses you to ease his longing. Doppelganger. She practically screamed those last two words, laden with endless grievance and accusation, like a thunderclap from a clear sky. It echoed through the entire banquet hall. A stand-in. I knew it. Holy crap, what a bombshell. This is straight out of a novel. No wonder Connor was so protective of her. It's a case of the stand-in trope. The real one is back. That poor bride, being called a stand-in at her own wedding. Poor, she definitely knew. Just in it for the money. #Meredith stand-in trending incoming. The guests were absolutely buzzing. A wave of murmurs swept through the crowd. The gazes fixed on me were filled with pity, scrutiny, and even schadenfreude. My mother-in-law trembled with rage, while my mother gripped her hand tightly, face pale. A vein bulged at Connor's temple. He was just about to speak. He let out a soft chuckle. In the midst of all this chaos, with everyone waiting to see me either break down or defend myself, I smiled with an unexpected calm, with a hint of mockery. A stand-in. I repeated the words, my gaze fixed on Hazel's face that was practically screaming. I knew it. You've got quite the imagination, Miss He. What a pity. I slowly raised my left hand on my ring finger. The brilliant diamond wedding band shimmered radiantly. I gently twisted the ring. The inner side of the ring was turned toward the nearest livestream camera. The high-definition camera precisely captured the line of tiny English letters engraved on the inner wall of the ring. Way, sees one and only. For a few seconds, the entire venue fell into dead silence. Even Hazel's sobs cut in her throat. Her eyes widened, fixed intently on the inside of the ring. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. The live stream chat froze for a moment, then it erupted with even more insane intensity. The one and only that backfired so fast. Who's the substitute now? This engraving. It's just too romantic. Does your face hurt, Hazel? Is it swollen? I knew it. The way Connor looked at the bride was nothing like looking at a substitute. That was pure adoration. Time to launch the #Hazel spreading rumors #. Connor stepped forward to stand shoulder to shoulder with me. He took my ring adorned hand and raised it high, making sure everyone could see. His voice was steady and firm, carrying an undeniable declaration. Meredith is my one true love, my lawfully wedded wife. I'm nobody's stand-in. I never was, I'm not now, and I never will be. His gaze swept across the room like a hawk's, finally settling on Hazel, whose face had gone as pale as parchment. Missy, have some self-respect. Make one more slanderous remark about my wife, and the Connor family lawyers will give you a masterclass in defamation lawsuits. Hazel collapsed to the floor, the color drained completely from her face. The white chrysanthemums she had placed on the table now stood behind her like a silent mockery. Her lips parted as if to speak, but no words would come out. The carefully orchestrated body double rumor, this was only the beginning, stood exposed by the inscription inside my wedding band. In the face of Connor's unwavering defense, crumbled instantly, completely shattered. Security, Connor commanded coldly. Please escort Missy and her entourage out. Wedding crashers aren't welcome here. Several uniformed security guards immediately stepped forward. Don't touch me. I can walk on my own. Hazel shoved away her assistant who tried to help her up, picking herself up from the ground. Her dress was stained with wine, her hair was disheveled, and her makeup was smeared by tears. She glared at me with an unblinking stare. The venom in her eyes was almost palpable. Meredith, this isn't over. Through gritted teeth, she spoke in a voice only the two of us could hear. Then, she snatched the bouquet of white chrysanthemums from the table and clutched them tightly in her hand, as if she were clinging to a lifeline, or perhaps gripping a symbol of her hatred. All of it was captured on her live stream as she was escorted out of the wedding venue. Like a complete loser, the commotion seemed to have died down. The guests were all talking, but most of it turned into criticism of Hazel and sympathy and well wishes for us. My parents and my in-laws also breathed a sigh of relief. Connor held me tight around the waist and whispered, "Are you okay?" But my gaze drifted to the corner of the banquet hall. A sharp-eyed woman wearing a press pass was hunched over her phone, typing rapidly. Her ID badge read, "Lena. In my past life, this journalist named Lena, under Hazel's direction, published numerous fabricated hit pieces accusing me of being a homewrecker who stole Connor from his true love. It seems Hazel has more tricks up her sleeve than just that earlier stunt. When Hazel accused me of pushing her, I clearly saw the hotel server closest to her avert his gaze. As she fell, he instinctively made a slight movement, reaching out before pulling back. Do they know each other, or did Hazel bribe him? My heart sank. Meredith, the wedding farce was over. But the war between Hazel and me was just beginning. Chapter 2, clearly, it's been upgraded. She's like a venomous snake lying in wait. A single failure won't make her back down, it only makes her more relentless. I linked my arm with Connor's, a proper bride's smile gracing my lips once more. We continued making toasts, mingling with the guests. The wedding had finally come to an end. The clamor faded away. Connor and I returned to our newlywed home. It's the penthouse of a luxury downtown apartment building. With its open views and the modern minimalist decor we designed together, every corner radiates warmth and love. Connor was slightly tipsy. He held me close, his chin resting in the crook of my neck, his breath warm against my skin. I'm sorry, Meredith, he said, his voice filled with remorse and exhaustion. You shouldn't have had to go through that today. I hugged him back and shook my head. It's not your fault. It's those ill-intentioned people who won't leave us alone. I'll deal with Hazel. Connor's tone turned cold. She won't get another chance to come near you. I murmured in agreement, but deep down I knew it wasn't that simple. Hazel's paranoia and madness far exceed what anyone could imagine. Just as I thought, you must be tired. Why don't you go take a shower first? I gently nudged him away, hoping he'd relax a bit. Connor kissed my forehead and headed to the master bathroom. I went to shower in the guest bathroom, remove makeup and wash up, change into comfortable pajamas. As I pushed open the master bedroom door, a chill swept over me. The room was unnaturally cold. A faint, elusive scent of incense and candle smoke hung in the air. My heart clenched. By the moonlight and city glow filtering through the window, I made out the scene inside the room. In that instant, it felt like my blood reversed course and rushed straight to my head. A chill ran through my entire body. The vibrant red wedding quilt was gone. The bedding had been replaced with a stark, glaring white. This wasn't a pure, holy white. It was that stark, ghostly white used for funerals. The wedding photo by the bed had been taken down. In its place was a large black frame, and inside that frame was a black and white photo of me. In the photo, my smile is stiff and my eyes are vacant. It was clearly maliciously cropped and cut out from a candid shot taken at today's wedding. In front of the photo, on the nightstand, two thick white candles stood side by side. The candles were already lit. Their dim, flickering flames danced eerily in the darkness, casting a glow upon my black and white funeral portrait. On the wall, scrawled in some unknown dark red liquid, were these crooked words: die a gruesome death, may you be cursed with eternal loneliness. The entire bridal chamber, it was set up like a funeral parlor prepared for me. On my wedding night, fear and rage intertwined, gripping my throat like an icy hand. I could almost hear my own teeth chattering. It's not fear, it's pure rage. Hazel, how could you be so vicious? Meredith, what's wrong? Connor stepped out of the bathroom with a towel wrapped around his waist, drying his hair. He saw me frozen in the doorway and approached with a puzzled expression. Then, he too saw the scene inside the room. The motion of drying her hair froze. The lazy relaxation vanished from her face in an instant, replaced by an expression of stunned fury. Who did this? His voice trembled with barely contained rage. He burst into the room, snatched the black and white funeral portrait, and smashed it against the floor. The glass frame shattered with a piercing crash. His hand shot up again, ready to swipe away the white memorial candles. Don't move, I snapped sharply. Connor's hand froze midair as he turned to look at me, his eyes filled with both anguish and fury. Meredith, anger won't solve anything. Hazel wants me to lose control, to be afraid. I can't let her have her way. Call the police. Connor pulled out his phone, his fingers trembling with rage. No, I shook my head. If we call the police, at most they'll trace it to the bribed waiter. It won't touch Hazel herself. She's too good at exploiting loopholes and manipulating public opinion. There's no direct evidence linking her to this. She could easily wash her hands of the whole affair. She might even turn the tables and accuse us of framing her. What do we do now? Connor stepped closer and grasped my icy hand firmly. Are we just going to let this go? My gaze fell upon the shattered photo frame on the floor, then drifted to the flickering white candle. The candle light reflected in my pupils, casting a cold, dancing gleam. Let it go, I repeated softly, a cold, mirthless smile curling at the corners of my lips. She gave me such a generous gift. How could I not return the favor? I walked over to the head of the bed and carefully examined the two white candles, cheap and tacky. You can find it everywhere. I took another look at the dark red writing on the wall. I leaned in closer and sniffed. A faint, coppery sweetness hung in the air. It's not blood, more like red paint mixed with something. Connor I turned to look at him, pull up the surveillance footage, the footage from the bridal suite, and the recordings of all the service staff who entered this floor today. The security system in this apartment is top-notch for our safety. Connor installed hidden cameras in both common areas and at the entrance. It was originally just to deter burglars. Little did we know, they'd be put to use here first. Connor immediately contacted the property management and security supervisors soon after. The surveillance footage was transmitted to his tablet. We sat on the living room sofa, fast-forwarding through the recording. The footage revealed, around 9 in the evening, the wedding reception hadn't quite wrapped up yet. A man dressed in hotel staff uniform, wearing a mask and cap, furtively swiped a master key card to unlock our door. He was carrying a large bag in his hand. He went in and stayed for nearly 20 minutes before coming out. When he emerged, the bag was empty. That's him, Connor said coldly, freezing the frame and zooming in on the waiter's face. Though the mask covered most of his face, the visible eyes and brow were still recognizable. That's the waiter from the wedding today, the one hovering near Hazel with shifty eyes. Can we confirm Hazel put him up to this? I asked. Footage of him entering the room alone isn't enough. Connor's fingers flew across the tablet screen. Another surveillance footage has been pulled up. It's from the hotel's service corridor. This one was recorded earlier. In the footage, the staff member is exchanging something with a discreetly dressed woman wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses. The woman handed him a thick envelope, and I recognized that bag. It was the very one he later carried into our marital bedroom. The woman patted the waiter's shoulder and leaned in as if whispering something, then she hurried away. She was putting on a good act, I'll give her that. But when she turned, that delicate collarbone necklace and the way she carried herself, I recognized her instantly. Hazel, that bitch. Connor slammed his fist into the armrest, chest heaving with rage. I'll make her pay for this. Back up all the surveillance footage, I instructed calmly, especially the part where Hazel handed over the money. What's next? Connor looked at me. Do we expose her now? No. I rejected the idea once more as I watched Hazel's disguised figure on the tablet. A plan quickly took shape in my mind. Isn't this exactly what she wanted? To scare me, to put a curse on me. Well, she's about to get exactly what she asked for. Connor, I grabbed his arm with a determined look. Work with me. Connor scooped me up and bolted out of the apartment like a madman. I lay pale and trembling in his arms, my eyes shut tight. A doctor, get a doctor. Connor yelled at the property managers and security guards who had rushed over upon hearing the commotion. His voice hoarse with panic and rage, he carefully helped me into the car and sped all the way to the nearest private hospital. Hashtag Meredith rushed to hospital on wedding night. Hashtag Connor's wedding suite turns into funeral parlor. Hashtag the cursed tycoon's bride. Hashtag several cryptic yet explosive hashtags suddenly rocketed to the top of the trending charts. The accompanying image was a blurry photo, captured by paparazzi staking out the apartment, showing Connor carrying me as he rushed out. My face was deathly pale, and I was completely unconscious. Connor looked as agitated as a caged animal. The internet is in an uproar again. Oh my god, what happened? A funeral setting. Who did this? How vicious. It's got to be Hazel. No one else would do this. She swapped white chrysanthemums at the car this morning, and by evening there's a funeral set up. The more you think about it, the creepier it gets. This goes way beyond simple jealousy. It's a crime. Where are the police? They need to arrest Hazel now. Hazel's Weibo and livestream were instantly flooded with outraged netizens. The debunking video exposing her body double rumor was still making rounds, and now this happened. Public opinion almost unanimously turned against her, with widespread condemnation. Of course, her diehard fans were still putting up a desperate fight. Where's the proof? No evidence means it's slander. Hazel was live streaming all afternoon. She had zero time for this. Maybe the bride staged it herself, just fishing for sympathy, waiting for the plot twist. In the hospital's VIP ward, I leaned against the headboard with feigned weakness, while Connor sat beside the bed, gripping my hand tightly. His concern and anger were genuine. She hired trolls and is still making excuses, Connor said darkly, watching the public opinion trends on his phone. Let her try to talk her way out of this, I said, my voice barely a whisper but my eyes sharp and clear. The higher she climbs, the harder she'll fall. I took out my phone and logged into a secondary account. The entire room erupted in uproar. I contacted my best friend, Serena. She's a moderately popular fashion influencer with extensive connections and a knack for getting things done efficiently. Serena, I need a favor. Look into Hazel, dig up all the dirt on her. The more details, the better, especially regarding her abusive boyfriend. In my past life, he was the one who personally pushed me off the 23rd floor. This time around, I'm going to expose them all before they can make a move. Serena replied immediately, got it. How dare that bitch do this to you? I'll make sure she pays dearly. Connor wasn't Idle either, he leveraged the Connor's connections and resources to dig deep into the bribed waiter, Hazel's recent financial transactions, and the people she had been in contact with. An invisible net was quietly being cast around Hazel, and what was Hazel doing at this very moment? Her live stream is on, the background looks like her own home, she's in pajamas, wearing no makeup, with red, swollen eyes as if she'd been crying for a long time, and right in front of her was that bouquet of white chrysanthemums, already beginning to wilt. My darlings, I truly have no idea what happened. She faced the camera, tears streaming down her face like rain-drenched pear blossoms. I'm also deeply saddened by what happened to Miss Moo, but I swear it wasn't me. I admit, I did have feelings for Connor, but that's all in the past now. How could I possibly do something so malicious? Because of what happened with the bouquet today. My fiancé's family considers it a bad omen. They've called off the engagement. As she spoke, she covered her face and broke down in tears. Her shoulders trembled as if she had suffered a grave injustice. The engagement was called off because of that bouquet of white chrysanthemums. Oh my God, that's just too tragic. I knew it wasn't that simple. What if it really was just a coincidence? Don't cry, Hazel. We believe in you. Meredith definitely set this up herself and is trying to pin it on Hazel. Once again, she's skillfully manipulating public opinion, casting herself as the poor victim who's been dragged into this and misunderstood. She even implied that my appearance is what shattered her perfect happiness. Watching her masterful acting in the live stream, I felt completely unmoved. If anything, it almost made me laugh. Calling off the engagement, in my past life, right up until she killed me, she only had that abusive boyfriend by her side. Where did this fiancé come from? She lies without even blinking, but she did remind me. That bouquet of white chrysanthemums. I picked up the bouquet of pink roses from the nightstand, the ones Connor had sent over, which Hazel had practically forced into my hands. I examined them closely. Deep within the petals, where the stems intertwine, concealing a few strands so fine they're almost invisible, black hairs, and some tiny fragments, like nail clippings. My heart went completely cold. A curse. She actually believes in this, and she actually went through with it. The lily of the valley bouquet that got swapped in my previous life probably contained something similar, but back then, I was completely unsuspecting and took it straight to the wedding venue. Hazel, you're absolutely hopeless. I carefully collected those few strands of hair and debris, placing them in a clean sealed bag. I handed it to Connor. Connor, find a reliable lab to run some tests. Let's see what this turns out to be. Connor took the evidence bag, and his expression turned terrifying the moment he saw its contents. He took a deep breath, suppressing the surging urge to kill. Clutching the evidence bag, he swiftly left the hospital room to make arrangements. I lay back in bed and closed my eyes. Meredith trembled with rage and lingering fear. It wasn't an act, it was a genuine physical reaction that was close. I almost fell for her tricks again. The shadow of my past death clings to me like a persistent parasite. A constant reminder, I can't afford to be soft-hearted, can't let our guard down. Showing mercy to a lunatic like Hazel is nothing but self-sabotage. I picked up my phone. On the screen, Hazel was still live-streaming her pity party, staring at that obnoxious bouquet of white chrysanthemums placed before her. Beneath her tear-swollen eyes lay poorly concealed smugness and calculation. I tapped lightly on the screen, sent her an anonymous private message. Just one sentence, white chrysanthemums. Do you like them? Next time, I'll send you a bigger wreath. After sending, log out of the account, I spent 3 days resting at the hospital. Connor never left my side. Online discussions about the funeral incident were blowing up. Although most voices condemned Hazel, she managed to barely maintain her core support base by persistently playing the victim and having her fans manipulate the comments. She even went live a few more times. She never mentioned the funeral setup in the bridal suite, only kept emphasizing how her engagement was called off because of the white chrysanthemum bouquet, implying I brought her bad luck. She sobbed about how innocent, devoted, and pitiful she was. Every livestream featured that wilted bouquet of white chrysanthemums, which became her perfect prop for playing the victim. Poor Hazel. Meredith completely wrecked her marriage. That woman is nothing but bad news. Anyone who gets involved with her ends up suffering. Is Connor blind? How could he pass up someone as wonderful as Hazel? Can't wait for Connor to come to his senses and dump that toxic woman. Reading these comments left me completely unfazed. I almost felt like sending her a virtual gift to thank her for keeping the buzz going. On the 4th day, I was recovered and discharged from the hospital. Connor had wanted me to rest for a few more days. It's time to put an end to some things. On the afternoon I was discharged from the hospital, I decided to go live. No announcements, no crew, right there in my sunlit living room. I started streaming directly from my phone. The title is straightforward. Let's talk about Recent events: the moment the live stream started, viewers flooded in like crazy. It hit 1 million viewers in just minutes. The comment section instantly exploded. "You're finally back. Are you feeling better now, Miss Moo? Was Hazel really behind the memorial incident? How dare you show your face on live stream? Haven't you made Hazel suffer enough? Get lost, you stand-in. Connor belongs to Hazel. Get out of here. You rabid dog upstairs." Yet I smiled. I was dressed in simple loungewear, with no makeup on. My face bearing just the right amount of paleness and weariness, but my eyes were calm. "Hello everyone, I'm Meredith. Thank you for your concern. I'm feeling much better now. Regarding the recent incident, the police have launched an investigation and I believe justice will be served." I spoke calmly, without playing the victim or placing blame, just stating the facts. "I'm going live today mainly to let everyone know I'm okay, and to thank all the friends who've been supporting Connor and me. Life must go on." I even managed a faint smile for the camera, a fragile yet resolute one. She's so strong. What a stark contrast to someone who's always whining. Now that's the composure of a true queen. Who are you trying to fool with that act? You're probably seething with hatred for our Hazel. The comment section was still in an uproar, but I remained unshaken, occasionally responding to a few of the more civil comments, crafting an image of magnanimity, projecting the positive persona of someone striving to move past the shadows. Just as the live stream reached the half-hour mark, when the atmosphere was relatively calm, a co-streaming request suddenly popped up. The applicant's ID was glaringly conspicuous: Fairy Hazel. The chat went wild instantly. "Holy crap, is that the real deal? This is intense. A face-to-face showdown. Hazel, connect with her now. Tear off her mask." A weasel giving New Year's greetings to a chicken. "What's that bitch he up to?" I looked at the voice chat request and tapped the screen with my fingertip. "Accepted." The screen instantly split in two. On the other half, Hazel's face appeared. She seemed meticulously dressed, but her eyes were bloodshot, with a faint, provocative smile playing on her lips. Before her still lay that haunting bouquet of white chrysanthemums. "Feeling better, Miss Moo?" she asked, her voice still sweet but laced with unmistakable sharpness. "Thanks for your concern. I'm much better," I replied flatly, glad to hear it. Hazel said with a faint smile, then abruptly changed her tone. "But there are some things I think we should clear up. I can't let you keep misunderstanding me." I sneered inwardly but kept a straight face. "Oh, what would that be?" Hazel looked directly into the camera, her eyes turning tender and plaintive. "Brother Connor and I aren't completely unrelated, like you said." She paused, as if steeling herself with some kind of resolve. "We were very much in love, but later on, we went our separate ways because of some misunderstandings, but deep down, I always had a place in his heart." The comment section went absolutely wild. "Confirmed. Connor is such a player. I knew it. Connor was definitely in love with Hazel. Meredith is just a homewrecker who seized the opportunity." Straight from the horse's mouth. Let's see how Meredith tries to talk her way out of this one. I almost laughed out loud seeing how convinced Hazel looked. "Oh really?" I raised an eyebrow. "Where's your proof? You can't just make claims without evidence, Missy. Spreading defamatory rumors carries legal consequences." Hazel seemed to have been waiting for me to say exactly that. A smug look of satisfaction crossed her face, as if her scheme had succeeded. "I absolutely have proof." She pulled out a tablet and swiped through it a few times, then she held up a photo to the live camera. It was an intimate photo of them together. The background of the photo looks like a hotel corridor. The lighting is dim and suggestive. Connor, wearing a bathrobe with his back to the camera, appears to be pushing open a door. Meanwhile, Hazel, in a sexy silk slip dress, is holding him tightly from behind. Her cheek rested against his back. A blush of happiness and shyness spread across her face. The photo was high resolution, taken from an unconventional angle. It looked incredibly real. Holy crap. Solid evidence photos. Wait, they're in bathrobes. They got a room. Connor is that kind of guy, playing the devoted husband while cheating behind his wife's back. Meredith looks furious. Haha, the body double theory is confirmed. The real one is back. Meredith can get lost. Hazel's fans are absolutely ecstatic. My live stream was instantly flooded with insults and mockery. Hazel watched the rapidly scrolling comments, barely able to contain her smug grin. She looked at me with a gaze brimming with triumphant gloating and pity. "Do you understand now, Miss Moo? Connor has always loved me, and only me. You were just a stand-in. He used to make me jealous, or to ease his loneliness." Every word she spoke was like a poison-tipped needle aimed straight for my heart. I silently stared at that photograph for a solid 10 seconds, then I laughed, not a laugh of anger, nor one of sorrow. It was a laugh, thick with mockery and pity. I began slowly, my voice carrying clearly through the microphone across the entire live stream. "Your photoshopping skills, did you learn that from A Roadside flyer. The smug look on Hazel's face instantly froze. What nonsense are you spouting? Her voice sharpened. This is the original photo. My memory with Connor. Oh, the original. I picked up my phone and tapped a few times without hurry. What a coincidence. Seems like I've got an original too. I aimed my phone screen directly at the live stream camera. On the screen was another photograph. The same hotel corridor backdrop, identical lighting. In the photo, there was only the back of Connor in his bathrobe. The door in front of him was slightly ajar, with light seeping through the crack, and behind him, there was nothing. There was no Hazel at all. In the bottom right corner of the photo, there's a crystal clear timestamp and watermark. The date was some day last year. The location was a hotel where Connor stayed during a business trip, and that intimate photo Hazel showed was clearly photoshopped. She'd superimposed her own body onto the original image, the angles, lighting, even the shadows. The Photoshop job is full of obvious flaws. Look closely at the hand she has around Connor's waist. The edges have a slight jagged, pixelated feel, a complete mess. Photoshopped. It was actually photoshopped. Holy crap, what a plot twist. Hazel actually photoshopped fake images. These editing skills. Looks like she learned from street flyers. Wouldn't pay more than 5 cents for this. Where are those keyboard warriors who were insulting people earlier? Come out and apologize. The tide of bullet comments completely reversed in an instant. Hazel's face instantly drained of all color when she saw the original photo and timestamp on my phone. She turned as pale as a ghost, her lips trembled, her eyes wide with disbelief and panic. No, impossible. Where did you get the original? You faked this. The timestamp is forged. She screamed incoherently, completely lost her composure. I put away my phone and stared coldly at her distorted face on the screen. Shall I contact the hotel to obtain the complete corridor surveillance footage from that night, or perhaps we should send this intimate photo of yours to a professional institution for authentication? Fabricated. I let out a light laugh. Who's really the one fabricating things here? You're trying to slander my husband and destroy my family with this poorly photoshopped picture full of flaws. Hazel, could your tactics be any more underhanded? Could you possibly be any more shameless? My questions came one after another, sharp and forceful, like a series of stinging slaps delivered right through the screen to Hazel's face. Her mouth hung open as guttural rasps escaped her throat, like a chicken being strangled. She couldn't utter a single word. The live stream in front of her began shaking violently. I shook my head. Clearly, either her assistant or she herself had bumped into the equipment in panic. The barrage was filled with mockery and insults directed at her drama queen. Photoshop fraud, disgusting, trashy, call the police on her. That's defamation. That cancelled engagement was probably fake too, right? Just fishing for sympathy. Unfollowed. This is absolutely disgusting. #Hazel Photoshop fraud. #get Hazel off the internet. Hazel stared at the barrage of comments, her expression shifting from panic to venomous and unhinged. She snatched the bouquet of white chrysanthemums in front of her and hurled it violently at the camera. Meredith, I hope you die a horrible death. And yet, she screamed hysterically. The screen went black. Her stream got forcibly terminated. My live stream suddenly became much quieter. Only countless supportive comments and those cursing out Hazel remained in the chat. I turned to the camera and offered a smile, one tinged with a bit of weariness but still perfectly composed. My apologies for the embarrassing spectacle. Innocence needs no defense. That's all for today's stream. Thank you everyone. With that, I decisively ended the broadcast, put the phone down. The smile instantly vanished from my face. My gaze turned icy. This time, Hazel was completely humiliated, with most of her carefully crafted persona crumbling, but I knew this was far from over. Obsessive maniacs like her only grow more unhinged after being proven wrong. I walked to the window and watched the steady stream of traffic below. It was a message from Serena Meredith that was absolutely savage. So satisfying to watch you shut them down. By the way, I've made some progress on that matter you asked me to look into. Hazel's assistant has indeed been acting rather suspiciously lately. She secretly purchased date rape drugs through an underground channel. A date rape drug. Fragmented memories of being imprisoned and tortured by her and her boyfriend in a past life flashed through her mind. Also, Serena sent another message. I asked around and found out that Connor's former partner, the one surnamed Zhao, has been in frequent contact with Hazel lately. Seems like they're plotting something. Mr. Zhao, Chapter 3. Connor's former business partner, who was ousted from the company for embezzlement and has held a grudge ever since. He's mixed up with Hazel. Nothing good can come of this. My grip tightened around the phone. It seemed Hazel's revenge was no longer confined to petty online harassment and those vile curses. She was now resorting to darker, more dangerous methods. Date rape drugs. Former partner. Is this for real? The Hazel photo editing scandal continues to escalate. Her reputation has taken a nosedive. Massive follower loss, brand deals are being terminated one after another, the internet is flooded with ridicule and insults directed at her. Photoshop fraud, get out of the influencer community, joke of the year, Hazel's Photoshop skills, I feel like such an idiot for ever believing her. Fully support Meredith pressing charges for defamation overnight. Her image transformed from pitiful delicate flower to deceitful schemer that everyone loves to hate. Life with Connor seems to have returned to a temporary calm. He's busy handling company affairs while secretly investigating the collusion between director Zhao and Hazel. Meanwhile, I'm using Serena to dig deeper into the information about Hazel's abusive boyfriend. His name is Jasper. His name might sound rustic, but he's a total troublemaker. He has a record of multiple brawls and disorderly conduct. Currently unemployed, he's living off Hazel. Their relationship is volatile, marked by frequent arguments that sometimes turn physical. Those occasional bruises on Hazel's skin are probably his handiwork. In our past life, he was the one, seduced by Hazel, who became my direct murderer. This time around, I won't let him get away with it. Our peaceful days lasted less than a week. That morning, Connor and I had just finished breakfast, and he was getting ready to head to the office. Suddenly, the doorbell let out a shrill, piercing ring. It wasn't the usual pleasant ding-dong, it was the kind of sustained, piercing shriek that comes from being forcibly muffled by a hand. It was the heavy, drum-like pounding on the door, as if they were trying to smash right through the door panel, intermingled with the shrill wails of a woman and the crude curses of a man. Meredith, you home-wrecking bitch, get your ass out here, you hurt my daughter, I hope you die a painful death. Wrong, open the damn door, I'll break it down if you don't. Connor's face darkened as he strode to the foyer and peered through the peephole. I followed along. One glance was all it took for my heart to sink. Outside the door, a dense crowd was packed together. At the forefront was a garishly dressed, beefy-faced middle-aged woman, slapping her thigh and spewing curses through tearful sobs. Beside her, a sleazy young man with a vicious scowl was viciously kicking our security door. Behind him trailed several other tackily dressed men and women with hostile expressions, holding up their phones to record, and standing at the very back, in a white dress, head bowed and shoulders trembling as if bearing the weight of some immense injustice. It's Hazel, and she was still holding that withered, blackened bouquet of white chrysanthemums. As for the young man who kicked the door, my pupils contracted slightly. It's Jasper. Hazel actually brought her abusive boyfriend and her whole dysfunctional family with her. It's Hazel and her family, Connor said coldly, his voice tight with suppressed rage. And that Jasper guy, he pulled out his phone, ready to call security. I grabbed his hand to stop him. Wait, I quickly backed into the living room, picked up my phone, and started recording. Then I adjusted the angle to make sure the camera could clearly capture what was happening outside through the gap in the entryway, without revealing my position. Record this, I told Connor. We need evidence. Connor immediately caught my drift. He took a deep breath, fighting the urge to kick them out right away, and pulled out his own phone to start recording. At the same time, he quickly shot off messages to the property manager and his private security. The commotion outside the door continued unabated. Mrs. His wailing was piercingly loud. Come and see for yourselves. This shameless Meredith, she stole my daughter's boyfriend and slandered her online. You ruined my daughter's life. Her engagement got called off. She lost her job, and now she spends every day drowning in tears. How is our family supposed to survive this? Jasper kicked the door and chimed in with a gruff voice. You bitch, how dare you mess with Hazel? I'll make you regret this so badly. I'll take your damn last name. Get out here, get on your knees and apologize to Hazel. Hazel lifted her head at just the right moment, tears streaming down her face, and choked up to the recording phone cameras. Mom, little brother, please don't. Miss Moo, she probably didn't mean to. It's all my fault. I never should have had feelings for Connor, but we were so deeply in love. As she spoke, she lowered her head again, choked with sobs. What a perfect little saint. She's washing her hands of everything and dumping all the blame on me. The relatives she brought along also joined in the chorus of insults. So young and already a homewrecker. You evil witch. I hope you die a horrible death. A woman like her should be punished by drowning. A torrent of foul language, too vile for the ears. The commotion drew neighbors peering and whispering among themselves. The hallway was packed with people, and Hazel's live stream, it must have started the moment they showed up downstairs. Right, the headline is bound to be extremely sensational and attention-grabbing right now. You can just imagine the barrage of comments in the live stream even without looking. I can guess what a scene it must be. What a bunch of lunatics, blocking the door and hurling insults. Is there no law and order anymore? How dare Hazel show her face? Photoshop fraud. Wait, judging by this scene, could the rumors about a body double be true? Why else would her family be so worked up? Did Meredith actually do something shady that she's afraid to face? Let's get #Meredith the homewrecker and #Meredith get out of showbiz trending. Public opinion was once again being manipulated by their petulant tantrums and unreasonable obstinacy. Another thunderous crash echoed, to everyone's shock. Jasper started battering the door lock with an iron rod he'd procured from somewhere. The security door groaned under the strain. Connor's eyes sharpened, unable to hold back any longer. He yanked me behind him and flung the inner door open. "What do you think you're doing?" Connor's towering frame blocked the doorway, his voice icy and intimidating. The sudden opening of the door caught the boisterous crowd off guard. "Mrs." He flinched at the sight of Connor, then wailed even louder as she plopped onto the floor, pounding the ground with her hands. "Connor, you must stand up for our Hazel. Look what that woman you married has done to our Hazel." Jasper brandished the iron rod, pointing it at Connor with a menacing glare. "Connor, you're no damn good either, playing with Hazel's feelings. If you two don't give me a proper explanation today, nobody's walking away unscathed." Hazel gazed at Connor through tear-filled eyes, her voice trembling with sorrow. "Connor, I'm sorry. I couldn't stop them." He froze in his tracks. "I'm just so heartbroken." As she spoke, her legs suddenly gave way. She swayed as if about to faint, then collapsed straight into Connor's arms. Connor's face changed, and he instinctively moved a step aside, but Hazel moved too fast, or rather, she had calculated it too perfectly. She was just about to throw herself into Connor's arms. At that critical moment, I made my move. I stepped up from behind Connor. I didn't push Hazel. Instead, I reached out and precisely took hold of her arm. It looked like a helping hand, but I applied just the right amount of force to firmly stop her from lunging toward Connor. Her hand froze just inches from Connor's chest, trapped between advance and retreat. Hazel looked up at me, stunned, meeting her gaze. Meredith smiled with faint concern. "Missy, are you feeling unwell? Having trouble standing steady? Should I call an ambulance for you?" Hazel's face flushed crimson in an instant. A flicker of startled fury and venom flashed in her eyes. She hadn't expected me to emerge so suddenly, let alone anticipated I'd thwart her seduction scheme in this manner. The live broadcast captured every moment of this scene with crystal clarity. Meredith's reaction is absolutely priceless. Hazel totally did that on purpose. She was trying to throw herself into Connor's arms. What a scheming bitch. How many times does she need to be exposed before she gives up? I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "Way to go, Meredith." Seeing her daughter's failed attempt, Mrs. He immediately started wailing again. "Help, she's hitting my daughter." Meredith pushed my little girl. Jasper flew into a rage, brandishing a steel pipe as he charged forward. "You bitch, how dare you lay a hand on Hazel?" Connor immediately pulled me behind him again, his gaze icy as it swept over the pipe in Jasper's hand. "Go ahead, lay a finger on her, I dare you." His voice was quiet, yet carried the authoritative pressure of someone in command and a chilling, murderous intent under his gaze. Jasper froze mid-action, suddenly too intimidated to step forward. At that moment, the property security and Connor's personal bodyguards finally arrived. 7 or 8 tall men in uniforms quickly took control of the situation. They stopped the He family and Jasper, who were still trying to cause trouble. "What's going on here? Who's causing trouble?" the head of security demanded sharply. "It's them, they're the ones, Mrs." He immediately shifted the blame, pointing at me and Connor. "They bullied my daughter, and they were about to hit us. We came here to talk things out, and they resorted to violence." The other He family relatives quickly chimed in, twisting the facts. "The police arrived shortly after. After understanding the situation, they began mediation. It was simply about getting both parties to calm down and not disrupt public order." Seeing this, Mrs. He rolled her eyes, then suddenly clutched her chest, gasping for breath with her eyes rolling back. "Ouch, ouch, my chest hurts. I'm so furious. They're going to be the death of me." She just dropped to the floor and started faking a heart attack. Hazel immediately rushed over, throwing her arms around her mother while crying out, Mom, what's wrong? Please don't scare me like this." "Officer, you see that? If anything happens to my mother, it's on them." Jasper chimed in, shouting, "Murder. Connor Meredith is driving the elderly to their deaths." The officer frowned deeply, clearly exasperated by this hysterical behavior. "We have to call an ambulance first." The live stream camera remained fixated on Hazel's mother lying unconscious on the ground, with Hazel weeping uncontrollably beside her. The sentiment in the live chat was being manipulated once again. Hazel may have made mistakes, but her family is completely innocent. How could Meredith and Connor be so heartless to drive an elderly person to this state? Do rich people think they can just push ordinary folks around? Hashtag Meredith Connor drives elderly to death. This hashtag needs to trend now. Public opinion. This is turning against Connor and me again. The officer looked at us, his tone full of pressure. "Mr. Connor, Miss Moo. As you can see, Connor's face turned ashen. I gripped his hand so tightly my nails nearly dug into my palm. Frustration, overwhelming frustration. We were clearly the ones who were wrong. They were clearly the ones who came to our door causing trouble, banging on the door, hurling insults, and faking illness to extort money. Yet, in the face of those who make the most noise, reason and truth seem utterly powerless. Gossip is a fearful thing. Public opinion can melt metal. I watched as Mrs. He lay on the ground, her acting utterly over the top. I watched Hazel, who was crying with such heartfelt emotion. I watched Jasper, his face twisted with aggression, his eyes full of menace. I watched the cameras pointed at us, their lenses filled with nothing but accusation and resentment. A chill of fury began to rise from the depths of my heart. Hazel, do you really believe this could break me? Do you really think throwing tantrums and weaponizing online harassment gives you free rein? Dead wrong. The crazier you get, the more mistakes you reveal, the closer you get to destruction, the nearer your downfall becomes. He gave the police a weary but cooperative look. Officer, we understand. Let's just follow standard procedure. We'll comply with whatever inspections or mediation are required. We're willing to cooperate. First, we need to stabilize the situation. Obtain evidence of Mrs. He's feigned illness, and then I looked at Mrs. He being carried on the stretcher, and at Hazel, who was following alongside, still wiping tears for the camera. The farce came to a temporary conclusion when his mother was carried away in an ambulance. The police took statements and warned the He family not to harass us again. Online public opinion remained in an uproar. The hashtag Meredith Connor driving elderly to death hashtag was trending high on the hot search list. Hazel's team hired trolls and her die-hard fans are making a scene everywhere, edited videos and out of context screenshots are spreading like wildfire. They're portraying us as cold-blooded bullies from a powerful family who throw their weight around. They're framing Hazel and her family as helpless commoners being oppressed by the powerful elite. Even when bystanders released relatively complete footage, their voices were quickly drowned out. Gossip is a fearful thing. Blind conformity. This moment captures it perfectly. My social media accounts are flooded with vile insults. Connor Corp's stock price has also experienced some volatility. People even started digging up my so-called skeletons in the closet, and my parents' backgrounds got dragged into this too. The pressure is overwhelming, the ever-present pressure. It descends like a vast net from all directions, a suffocating frustration, anger, and a profound sense of powerlessness against such an unscrupulous and unreasonable opponent. Conventional methods seem to have lost their effectiveness. Connor deployed his family's legal team and sent out multiple cease and desist letters, but it had little effect. Hazel's side wasn't intimidated at all. She even mocked during a live stream. Rich people always use lawyers to intimidate ordinary folks. She and her family, including Jasper, are like stubborn pieces of gum you can't scrape off, clingy and disgusting. This can't go on any longer. Connor rubbed his temples, his eyes bloodshot. I need to deal with Hazel and Director Zhao as soon as possible. He looked at me, his eyes filled with heartache and regret. Meredith, I'm sorry for putting you through this again. I took his hand. Connor, this isn't your fault. We underestimated just how unhinged and shameless Hazel could be. We need to change our approach. Playing defense will only encourage her to push her luck. Connor and I were in the study, quietly discussing our next move. The main challenge is obtaining concrete evidence of the collusion between Director Zhao and Hazel, and how to deal with potential further harassment from the He family if they show up again. Just as they reached the crucial point, Connor's phone suddenly buzzed. It was an alert from the security system. A motion sensor triggered in a specific area of the house, but that area should be empty right now. We exchanged glances, both seeing the wariness in each other's eyes. So it was her. Connor signaled for me to stay quiet. He rose silently, moved to the study door, and listened intently. All was quiet outside. The evidence is undeniable, he gestured to me, then gently pushed the study door open. The corridor was empty, but that feeling of being watched lingered, faint yet unmistakable. Connor's expression turned grim as he retreated to the study and closed the door. Something's wrong, he whispered, lowering his voice. I can't shake the feeling that someone's listening to us. My heart skipped a beat. A bizarre and terrifying thought flashed through my mind. Connor, I said, my voice raspy, check the house, especially for anything that shouldn't be there. Connor instantly understood what I meant. His face turned ashen. We split up to cover more ground, moving with deliberate quietness. Fine by me. Living room, bedroom, kitchen, balcony. They left no stone unturned, searching every nook and cranny. 20 minutes later, tucked away in a hidden crevice beneath the living room sofa, Connor's fingers closed around a fingernail-sized object with a faint magnetic pull, emitting an almost imperceptible red blink. A bug. Half an hour later, another 10 minutes passed, inside the lampshade of the master bedroom's bedside lamp, found the second one. They even found the third one hidden in the decorative vase on the restaurant table. 3 listening devices, spread throughout the most important areas of our home. A cold sweat instantly drenched my back. A chill shot up from the soles of my feet to the crown of my head. Hazel, I can't believe she's gone this far, bribing someone to plant listening devices soon enough. What on earth is she up to? Collecting our private information, tracking our every move, or does she have more sinister intentions? Connor stared at the 3 tiny listening devices in his palm, insidious as malignant tumors. A storm was brewing in his eyes, rage, lingering fear, and a flicker of territorial fury. His knuckles turned white as he clenched the 3 bugs in a death grip. He was on the verge of crushing them. Good, very good, he said in a low voice, like a volcano about to erupt. Hazel, you're really asking for it. I forced myself to calm down. My mind was racing. Listening device, this goes way beyond a privacy violation. It's solid proof of a crime, but if we go straight to the police, she'll probably talk her way out of it again, just like last time, and we must seize this opportunity. I walked over to Connor, gently pried open his clenched hand, and retrieved the 3 listening devices, placed them on the desk. Then I picked up a pen and quickly wrote on the paper, turning their own trick against them. Connor stared at those 4 words, the fury in his eyes gradually replaced by a cold, calculating glint. He took the pen and wrote, pretend to fight, relationship breakdown. I nodded and continued writing, lure the snake out of its hole. She'll get careless when she's overconfident and reveal more flaws. Connor pondered for a moment, then wrote, we need a plan. I'll disappear, and you'll have a breakdown. In that moment of eye contact, we understood each other perfectly. This is a risky move, but it's also our chance to break the stalemate and force Hazel to show her true colors. I took a deep breath and solemnly wrote on the paper, the plan is set. We began our performance for the hidden microphone. First came the hushed arguments about the online backlash, the He family's harassment, the corporate pressure. The noise grew louder and louder. Connor, I've had enough. Getting criticized every single day. People point fingers at me when I go out. How am I supposed to live like this? I was shouting into thin air, my voice trembling with tears and sheer desperation. Do you think I have it easy? The company's stock is plummeting, the shareholders are breathing down my neck, and it's all because of you. Connor played along, his tone deliberately irritated and distant. Because of me. If you hadn't provoked that lunatic Hazel, would any of this have happened? Meredith, be reasonable. I've been done with her for ages. Done with her. Then why does she despise me so much? Why can't she just leave us alone? Connor, I'm exhausted. I can't do this anymore. I started crying. The acting was convincing, with the genuine grievances and exhaustion that had been building up over the past few days. All you do is argue. I've had enough of this. I'm going out to clear my head. Connor let out a low, angry growl. This was followed by the heavy slam of a door. He had left the house, of course. This was all an act for whoever was listening on the other end of the bug. He actually went into the study next door, contacted his confidant on the internal phone, and started giving instructions. Meanwhile, I lay on the living room sofa, continuing my performance of sobbing and despair, putting on a show for those hidden ears. The plan was working. Hazel started her live stream, sitting at her vanity. She seemed to be in high spirits, even humming a tune. The barrage of comments was all asking why she was so happy. She flashed a mysterious yet sweet smile at the camera. Hey everyone, some recent events have really been weighing on my heart, but remember, after every storm comes a rainbow. About Connor and me, well, some matters might be resolved soon. She was being deliberately vague, that barely contained smugness and innuendo practically oozed through the screen. A result? What result? Did Connor finally come to his senses? Is he going to dump that Meredith? Absolutely. Didn't the news about their fight just break yesterday? Hazel's perseverance has finally paid off. Congratulations, let's get #Connor Hazel reunion trending. Hazel's smile grew even sweeter as she read the barrage of well wishes and speculations in the chat. Thank you for all the love, everyone. Some things are better left unsaid for now. When the time is right, I'll be the first to share the good news with everyone. Her ambiguous remarks were like a boulder dropped into a still lake. Once again, it stirred up quite a storm. Nearly everyone believes Connor and I are headed for a divorce, and that he'll rekindle his romance with Hazel. My social media accounts were once again flooded with comments like congrats on being single again and glad that stand-in is finally gone. Even some gossip columns started earnestly analyzing various signs that Connor and Meredith's marriage is on the rocks. Watching it all unfold, I'm sitting at home with a tranquil heart. I'm even tempted to give Hazel's live stream a like. Go ahead, put on your show, give it your all. The wider your smug grin is now, the harder you'll crash when you fall. Connor's Making good progress on his end, he tapped into some unconventional sources and identified several potential locations where Hazel might be holed up, and with the name I provided, Jasper, the people he sent found that thug. Meanwhile, I wasn't idle either. Through Serena's connections, I got Jasper's contact information. I contacted him using an unregistered number. "Jasper, who is this?" he replied quickly. His tone guarded. "Never mind who I am. Want to know which other men Hazel's been seeing behind your back, especially a certain Mr. Zhao." I cast the bait. A lowlife like Jasper is naturally paranoid, and he probably doesn't even trust Hazel that much, especially when he suspects he's being cheated on, or his interests are being threatened. There was a long silence on the other end of the line, then he responded, "Do you have evidence? Let's discuss this in person. I'll decide the time and location." I stated my terms. "All right," he agreed. The fish has taken the bait. Meanwhile, after several days of intensive investigation, Connor left me a note. It was placed at our prearranged hiding spot. The note contained only an address and a name in West District, Jinsho Apartments, Building B, Unit 1703, secretly leased by Hazel. "I'll verify it. Wait for my update. Be careful," he went, going alone to check out Hazel's secret hideout. I knew he wanted to get the most direct evidence himself, and also to protect me from getting involved in danger. But my heart inexplicably started to race, the shadow of being drugged and imprisoned by him in my past life resurfaced. Hazel has knockout drugs on her. She's in cahoots with Director Zhao. Connor is going there alone. This is way too dangerous. I called him right away. His phone was off. I sent a text, no reply. A sense of foreboding, like icy vines, coiled around my heart and tightened its grip. "Connor, you have to be okay." I stared at the address written on the note. His eyes grew resolute. "I must go immediately, right now." I grabbed my car keys, threw on my jacket, and without a moment's hesitation, bolted out the door. I floored the accelerator the whole way. I ran 2 red lights. My heart was pounding like a drum in my chest. My mind is flooded with images of Connor's past life, imprisoned and tortured by Hazel and her boyfriend, and that chilling weightlessness of falling from a great height. It can't happen again. Splendid residence, a seemingly upscale residential complex. I haphazardly parked my car by the curb and rushed straight to Building B, 1703. The elevator numbers kept flickering every second. Stretched out like an eternity, the elevator doors slid open. I rushed to the door of Unit 1703. The heavy security door stood firmly shut. A woman's voice drifted faintly from inside. It sounded like Hazel, and was that a man's muffled sobbing? "Connor." My mind went blank with a ringing buzz. All reason and planning flew out the window. I lifted my foot and with all my might, kicked the door lock with full force. A loud bang echoed. The door panel shook, but the lock held firm. "Who's there?" Hazel's wary shriek echoed from within. I delivered 2 more kicks and slammed my shoulder against the door with a dull thud. "Open up, Hazel. I know you're in there. Let Connor go." I roared like an enraged lioness. A flurry of panicked footsteps echoed from within, then came the sound of a lock turning. The door was abruptly yanked open a crack. Hazel's face appeared in the gap, contorted with alarm and venom. She froze for a split second when she saw it was me, then a vicious smirk twisted her lips. "Meredith, you actually tracked me down here. Well, walk right into my trap. Why don't you?" She tried to slam the door shut. I was already poised for action, bracing my body firmly against the door crack. "Where's Connor? What have you done to him?" Through the crack in the door, I saw the scene in the living room. Connor was slumped on the sofa, eyes tightly shut, face flushed, his forehead covered in sweat. He seemed to have lost consciousness. His hands and feet, tied up with rope, on the table nearby sat a small medicine bottle and a glass of water. Drugged. They actually drugged him. "Connor." My eyes nearly burst from their sockets as I threw my entire weight against the door, smashing it open with a surge of adrenaline I didn't know I possessed. The impact sent Hazel stumbling backward. "I understand." I paid her no mind, rushing straight to Connor's side. "Connor, Connor, wake up." I patted his face, and my hand met burning hot skin. He was breathing rapidly, his brow furrowed tightly as if in immense pain, but he was still breathing, his heart still beating. I breathed a small sigh of relief and immediately started untying the rope from his wrists. "Don't waste your energy." Hazel's chilling voice came from behind me. She calmly closed the door and turned the lock. A small fruit knife had somehow found its way into her hand. The blade glinted coldly in the light. "He's been drugged with a powerful sedative. He won't wake for hours." She advanced step by step, her eyes blazing with manic triumph. "Meredith, why couldn't you just stay home and play the miserable housewife? Did you really have to come here and throw your life away? Perfect. Saves me the trouble of hunting you down. Today, right here, I'm going to finish off you 2 cheating scumbags together." She brandished the fruit knife, her face twisted with manic excitement. I shielded Connor tightly, staring at her with icy eyes. "Hazel, you've lost your mind. Murder demands retribution." "Ha ha ha," Hazel burst out, laughing as if she'd just heard the most ridiculous joke. Pay with my life. Who would ever know I did it? This is a secretly rented house. No one knows about this place. Once I've dealt with you, I'll burn this whole place to the ground. By then, everyone will think your marital problems drove you to kill each other in a murder-suicide. And she murmured, caressing her cheek with a dreamy expression, will use Connor's suicide note to claim my share of his estate, partnering with Chairman Zhao. I'll finally become a true society matriarch. Her scheme was both vicious and meticulously crafted. Clearly, this was no spur-of-the-moment decision. My mind raced as I stared at the blade in her hand. In a direct confrontation, I'm no match for her. I'll have to outsmart her. By some time, the racket I made kicking the door was loud enough to alert the neighbors or security. Hazel, do you really think Mr. Zhao is sincere about working with you? I tried to distract her. He's just using you to get to Connor. Once Connor is dead and you're no longer useful, he'll be the first to cut you loose, or worse, silence you for good. Hazel froze mid-motion, her eyes darting away. Clearly, she didn't fully trust Mr. Zhao either. Shut up. Your attempts to drive a wedge between us won't work. Mr. Zhao promised me a stake in the Connor family shares once this is done. We're getting married. She sounded like she was trying to convince herself, her voice shrill. Chapter 4. Married, I scoffed. You actually believe that? Someone who'd betray their own partner would suddenly be honest with you. Besides, aren't you still with that Jasper guy? What do you think Mr. Zhao would say if he found out you're secretly keeping a troublemaker around? At the mention of Jasper, Hazel's expression shifted abruptly. How do you know about Jasper? A flicker of panic flashed in her eyes. Not only do I know Jasper, I said, staring straight into her eyes and enunciating every word, I also know you had him buy date rape drugs for you. The deal went down through your assistant, didn't it? Hazel's pupils contracted sharply. Meredith's knife-holding hand trembled. You're lying. You know damn well I'm not lying. I pressed further. Hazel, just stop this. Let us go and get out of here now, while you still can. Otherwise, when the police arrive, you'll be facing the death penalty. Police, Hazel snapped, brandishing the knife. What if they come? I'll kill you first. She lunged at me with the knife, screaming wildly. At that critical moment, bang, a deafening roar shattered the air. The apartment door burst inward with explosive force. Wood splinters flew everywhere. Several police officers stormed in like avenging angels. Police, freeze, drop your weapon. The dark muzzle of a gun was aimed directly at Hazel, who was holding a knife. Hazel was completely stunned, frozen in place with the knife still raised. The madness and triumph on her face instantly gave way to sheer terror. No. Impossible. How did you? She stared in disbelief at the police officers who had appeared out of nowhere. The tension that had been coiling inside me suddenly melted away, my strength drained away, and I collapsed to the ground, gasping for air. My back was already soaked with cold sweat. On my way here, I used my Bluetooth headset to call the police. I refused. I briefly explained the situation and provided the address, and the call remained connected the entire time. My entire conversation with Hazel just now, including her confession to drugging, imprisoning, and intending to commit murder and arson, it must have all been recorded. Drop the knife, the police officer commanded sharply. Hazel's hand went limp. The fruit knife clattered to the floor with a metallic clang. Her face turned deathly pale as her entire body trembled. It wasn't me. I never meant to do this. She started incoherently shifting the blame. It was Director Zhao. He forced me into this. He was the one who provided the knockout drugs. I was just being used by him. The officer ignored her excuses and quickly moved to restrain her. They handcuffed her. Meanwhile, another officer checked on Connor and called for an ambulance. I rushed to Connor's side, clutching his still feverish hand. Connor, it's okay now. We're safe. Tears finally began to fall, unable to be held back any longer. It was a mix of lingering fear and overwhelming relief. Connor was rushed to the hospital for gastric lavage and emergency treatment. As the person involved, I went with the police to the station and gave a detailed statement. I provided some of the audio I had recorded, along with the note Connor left behind. Hazel was taken into criminal custody. The police conducted overnight interrogations. She did in fact implicate Mr. Zhao, claiming she was acting under his orders. The police moved swiftly and took Mr. Zhao into custody. However, the situation did not conclude as smoothly as we had anticipated. That old fox Mr. Zhao is as cunning as they come. He admitted to having contact with Hazel but firmly denied instructing her to administer drugs or commit murder. He claimed to have only business collaborations with Hazel and stated he was completely unaware of her reckless actions. He provided what appeared to be a perfect alibi. As for Hazel's side of the story, although she adamantly claims General Manager Zhao was the mastermind, she couldn't produce any direct evidence to support her claim. The date rape drugs were purchased through her assistant, and the money trail doesn't lead back to Zhao. Hazel handled the leasing of this apartment herself, the most crucial piece of evidence, the recording of Hazel confessing to the crime in her own voice, due to the noisy environment at the time, the sound of the door being forced open, and the indistinct nature of some of Hazel's statements. Its validity as direct legal evidence is somewhat questionable. Furthermore, after her lawyer arrived, Hazel began to retract her confession. She claimed that I had provoked her, causing her to be in an unstable mental state, and that everything she said was just nonsense. She even turned the tables, accusing me of breaking into her home, threatening her, and assaulting her. As for why Connor was at her place, she tried to weasel out of it by saying that Connor had come to catch up with her and accidentally took some sleeping pills. She tied him up because Connor became agitated when the drugs kicked in, and she was afraid he might hurt himself. Her fabricated story was riddled with holes, yet we couldn't immediately produce irrefutable evidence to completely debunk it. The evidence chain was incomplete and failed to form a closed loop. To make matters worse, Hazel and CEO Zhao had hired a top-tier legal team. Hazel was arrested on charges including unlawful confinement and possession of prohibited substances, but more serious charges like attempted murder couldn't be substantiated due to insufficient evidence. Due to lack of direct evidence, Mr. Zhao was actually released on bail after being detained for investigation. This outcome felt like a bucket of ice water being poured over Connor, who had just regained consciousness and was still weak, and me. Infuriating, absolutely infuriating. We know for a fact they're the murderers. We literally went through a life and death situation. Yet due to insufficient evidence, we can't bring them to full justice. Hazel even managed to release another statement through her lawyer while in detention. He claimed to be framed and a casualty of power struggles. Her delusional fans are getting active again. No surprise there's foul play. Hazel was set up. Smooth move. Meredith, breaking into someone's home and still playing the victim. How can Connor blame Hazel when he's the one who secretly met his ex and overdosed on pills? Hashtag Hazel injustice. Hashtag power suppression. Public opinion has taken another bizarre turn, though most rational netizens remain unconvinced. The nauseating buzz of dissent persists like a swarm of flies. Connor and I stood in the hospital room. The sun was shining brightly outside the window, yet our hearts felt as if they had plunged into an icy abyss. I'm sorry, Meredith. Connor's face was pale, his voice hoarse. It was my carelessness that got you involved in this. I held his hand and shook my head. It's not your fault. Our opponents are just too cunning and have no moral boundaries. Watching those twisted narratives spreading online, watching Hazel and director Zhao still roaming free, a deeper chill and resolve rose from the depths of my heart. The law can't touch you for now, then I'll handle this my own way. Hazel, aren't you the superstitious one? Don't you believe in curses? I'll stay with you. Let's have some fun with this superstition game. After Connor was discharged from the hospital, we ramped up security. All the listening devices at home were completely removed and replaced with more advanced counter-surveillance equipment, but Hazel and director Zhao are like vipers lying in wait, ready to strike again at any moment. The police investigation has hit a dead end. Hazel insists it was director Zhao who gave the orders, but Zhao completely denies any involvement. With no conclusive evidence, the case is moving forward at a snail's pace. A sense of frustration still hangs over us. I can't just sit here waiting for death. I have to take the initiative. What are Hazel's weaknesses? Paranoia, madness, and superstition. She believes in curses and all that dark magic. In our past life, she cursed me with a rigged bridal bouquet. It's happening this time around. She's clinging to white chrysanthemums and turned the bridal suite into a mock funeral parlor to intimidate me. That's her Achilles heel. A plan began taking shape in my mind. I would use her superstitions to set a trap that would make her walk right into it. I reached out to Serena. Serena, spread a rumor for me. What rumor? Just say that I, Meredith, have a unique fate. I'm naturally jinxed. When it comes to love rivals, I said calmly, any woman who tries to come between Connor and me, or has improper thoughts about him, will face terrible misfortune. At best, they'll lose their wealth or get disfigured. At worst, their family will be destroyed. On the other end of the line, Serena gasped sharply, Meredith, what are you trying to, fishing? I said calmly, Hazel believes in this stuff, doesn't she? I'm just sending her some bait. Serena was silent for a few seconds, then grew excited. Got it. Leave it to me. I'll make sure this information accidentally reaches that bitch's ears. Serena was highly efficient in taking action. A few days later, whispers about my fate being so formidable it vanquishes love rivals began circulating discreetly in certain master circles and wealthy socialite groups. The tales kept getting more outlandish with each retelling. They claimed celestial omens appeared at my birth. They said my grandmother was a spirit medium who read my fortune, declaring me the lone phoenix star destined to wither all romantic rivals around my partner. They described it with such vivid detail it sounded convincing. An insider even claimed that several female subordinates who had shown interest in Connor before all had inexplicable bad luck after getting close to him. One of them was even in a car accident that left a scar on her face. These half-truths were precisely funneled through certain channels to Hazel, who was out on bail and lying low for the time being. A few more days passed, the timing felt right. I went live again, no prior announcement, just streaming from my cozy living room setup. I was wearing a red dress and looked really well. You could even say I was positively glowing, a complete turnaround from the frail woman who'd been harassed and hospitalized. Livestream title, sharing my recent bit of good fortune. The viewer count shot up as soon as the live stream started. The live chat was buzzing with all sorts of comments. Some were asking about how I was feeling, others were pressing for updates on the Hazel case. Of course, there was no shortage of vitriol from Hazel's die-hard fans. Ignoring the negative comments, I flashed a relaxed smile at the camera. Hello everyone, long time no see. I've been taking good care of my health lately, and it feels like my luck has been turning around too. That business deal that fell through before the other party suddenly came back to me with even better terms. While I was out shopping, I ended up winning the first prize in a draw. It feels like all the bad luck I had before has finally been swept away. My tone was light and cheerful, with a touch of girlish excitement. Sis is glowing. Looks like she's really moved on from the past. Luck turning around. Is it because that Jinx got arrested? Meredith, stop pretending. We all know you have a history of outlasting your love rivals. Get lost, you idiot. Stop spreading superstitious nonsense, they say her astrological fate is truly formidable. No woman who gets close to Connor ever comes to a good end. Sure enough, comments in the bullet chat started bringing up the topic of fate. I pretended not to see them and went on sharing my little strokes of luck, but out of the corner of my eye, I kept watching the list of online viewers. An inconspicuous alt account sat quietly in the list. I knew it was Hazel. She must be watching me glow with health, listening to my tales of improving fortune. To her, this was undoubtedly the ultimate irony and provocation. Someone as superstitious and paranoid as her would never believe this was mere coincidence. She'd be convinced my fate configuration had backfired on her. I even deliberately adjusted an antique on the curio shelf behind me during the live stream, an aged wooden gourd carved with esoteric symbols. This is an old piece given to me by an elder, they said. It brings peace and protection to the household. I mentioned it almost casually. Then in the bullet comments, people started running with it, calling it some kind of magical artifact that could enhance my destiny or something. I'm sure Hazel noticed that detail. Someone like her would definitely spin a whole web of truths in her head. After an hour-long live stream, I signed off amidst a barrage of bullet comments that were a mix of congratulations and curses. The bait has been cast. Now we wait for the fish to bite. Late at night, 3 days later, all was silent. Connor and I slept in each other's arms, but truth be told, neither of us was truly asleep. Connor was in on my plan and played along. In the bedroom, several cleverly disguised miniature HD cameras were silently operating. They were connected to cloud storage and the security company's monitoring center. 2:00 a.m. This is when people are most drowsy and least alert. From the direction of the living room came a faint, almost imperceptible click. It sounded like someone was using a specialized tool to jimmy the window latch. Connor and I opened our eyes at the exact same moment. We exchanged a look in the darkness. There was no trace of sleepiness in our eyes, only a chilling wariness. Connor gave my back a gentle pat, signaling me to stay still. Everything was going according to plan. He pretended to turn over, emitting steady breaths as if in a deep slumber. Meanwhile, I held my breath and strained to listen. Faint rustling footsteps echoed from the living room. There's more than one person. At least 3 of them. They moved with professional precision, barely making a sound. The target was clear, straight to the master bedroom. A hand quietly reached under the pillow. Hidden there were a high-pressure pepper spray and a small alarm. Creak. The master bedroom door was gently pushed open just a crack. In the darkness, several shadowy figures crept in on tiptoe. By the faint light from the window, I could make out the silhouette of the person leading them, even with the hat and mask. That figure, that way of walking, it's Hazel. 2 tall men followed behind her, and one of them was unmistakably Jasper. The other one, judging by his build, was an unfamiliar face, perhaps someone sent by President Zhao, or a professional they'd hired. Hazel's gaze slithered through the darkness like a venomous snake. It finally locked onto the carved wooden gourd on the nightstand, the very one I'd showcased during my livestream. Her eyes instantly blazed with a terrifying mix of greed, resentment, and madness. She took the bait. She believed this wooden gourd was the magical artifact that enhanced my fate and caused all her misfortune. She was going to destroy it. Hazel gestured to Jasper, pointing at the wooden gourd. Jasper understood immediately, stepped forward, and reached out to grab it. Just as his hand was about to touch the wooden gourd, the bedroom light suddenly flicked on. The blinding white light instantly pierced through the darkness, illuminating the stunned, panicked faces of Hazel, Jasper, and another man with stark clarity. Connor was already standing at the doorway, his fingers still on the light switch. His gaze was as cold and sharp as a blade, radiating a chilling murderous intent. Hazel, Jasper, breaking into a private residence. What are your intentions? His voice was quiet, yet it struck like a thunderclap, shattering the silence of the bedroom. The three of them, Hazel included, were stunned by this sudden turn of events. They froze in place, momentarily forgetting how to react. Hazel was the first to snap out of it. With a sharp cry, she lunged recklessly toward the nightstand, desperate to seize that wooden gourd. Connor let out a sharp cry as he lunged forward, intercepting Jasper, who was charging toward me. In that same instant, I sprang up from the bed. Instead of dodging, I charged straight toward the oncoming Hazel. Her eyes were fixed solely on that wooden gourd, completely disregarding my presence. She immediately reached out to shove me, trying to push me away. I was ready for it, sidestepping her push while swiftly tripping her with my foot. Hazel couldn't stop her momentum and tripped hard, falling flat on her face. Her chin hit the floor with a heavy thud. Ow, my tooth, she cried out in pain. Meanwhile, I seized the opportunity to grab the wooden gourd and clutch it tightly against my chest. On the other side, Connor and Jasper were already grappling with each other. Jasper was a burly troublemaker who fought dirty and without mercy, but Connor was no pushover either. He had been working out for years and had combat training, even though he was just recovering. His skills and strength were nothing to scoff at. For a moment, the fight was dead. Even seeing the situation turning sour, the other man's eyes turned fierce, and he actually pulled a dagger from his waist. He stabbed straight towards Connor's back, aiming for his heart. Look out, Connor! My eyes widened in horror as a scream tore from my throat. Without a second thought, I hurled the wooden gourd at the knife-wielding man with all my strength. The gourd struck his wrist with perfect accuracy. He winced in pain, his movements faltering. Seizing the opportunity, Connor executed a swift shoulder throw, slamming Jasper hard into the knife-wielding man. Oof! The two collided and tumbled together in a heap. Wee-oh, wee-oh. The piercing wail of sirens grew rapidly closer, approaching from a distance. Clearly, the home alarm system had already been triggered, and both the security company and the police were on their way. Hazel's face turned deathly pale the moment she heard the sirens. She struggled to get up from the ground. Get out of here, she screamed at Jasper and the man. Connor stood blocking the doorway like a sentinel. He and I stood side by side, watching them coldly. Leave, and go where? A few minutes later, the police stormed in. They subdued Jasper, who was putting up a desperate fight, and the man with the knife. Hazel slumped to the floor, her hair disheveled, a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. Her eyes vacant and filled with despair, she watched as handcuffs were snapped onto her wrists by the police, watching Connor and me standing there completely unharmed, staring at the wooden gourd rolling on the ground. Suddenly, as if possessed by madness, she pointed at me and let out a shrill laugh. Meredith, you set me up. This was all a trap, you vicious woman. I hope you die a painful death. Your fate is fabricated. All of it is a lie. I walked up to her, bent down, and picked up that wooden gourd, gently blew the dust off it. Fate and fortune. I looked at her contorted face and gave a Meredith-esque smile. Missy, what era are we living in? You still believe in that sort of thing? This is nothing more than an ordinary piece of craftsmanship. It's not worth much. But you, I paused, my voice turning cold, breaking and entering, armed assault, caught red-handed. Is the evidence sufficient this time? Hazel's eyes widened abruptly, fixed intently on the wooden gourd in my hand before darting toward the police officers and cameras aimed at her from all sides. She finally realized she had been ensnared in my trap from the very beginning. The so-called destiny, the so-called sacred artifacts, they were all just bait to lure her in. She let out a piercing, desperate scream and completely broke down. She was dragged out roughly by the police. Connor came over and wrapped his arm tightly around my shoulder as I leaned into his embrace. I finally felt a sharp sting in my arm. I looked down and saw a cut. Must have been from Hazel's nail or something during the struggle, slowly oozing blood. You're hurt. Connor's expression shifted instantly. It's nothing, just a scratch. I shook my head, my gaze icy as I watched Hazel being led away. Hazel was caught red-handed during the night raid. The evidence is irrefutable this time. Illegal trespassing, assault with a weapon. We have both eyewitness testimony and physical evidence, combined with the previous unlawful confinement case involving Connor. With these multiple charges stacked against her, she's facing a lengthy prison sentence. The news sent shockwaves across the internet. All those voices that had been defending her and attacking me suddenly fell silent. Oh my God, breaking into someone's home at night and carrying a knife, that's attempted murder. Where are all the people who were trashing Meredith earlier? Care to step forward? Hazel has completely lost it. People like her deserve to rot in jail. Hashtag Hazel got what she deserved. Hashtag apologize to Meredith. My social media accounts are flooded with messages of apology and support, but I know this isn't enough. What Hazel has done to me goes far beyond this single incident. It's a blood feud carried over from our past lives. It's the repeated frame-ups, slander, and cyberbullying in this lifetime, and then there are all those vicious rumors she's been spreading. I'm going to completely destroy her reputation and expose all her crimes for the world to see. I've decided to hold a truth reveal conference. It will be live-streamed in its entirety. We're inviting mainstream media, prominent online influencers, and all netizens following this matter. The venue is set for the ballroom at a hotel owned by the Connor family's conglomerate. I'm going to expose every last one of Hazel's deceptions in front of everyone. I'll leave her with nowhere to hide. The day of the press conference, the banquet hall was packed to capacity. A sea of cameras was trained on the podium. The live stream had already surpassed 10 million viewers even before it officially began. Dressed in a sharp white suit, I walked up to the podium hand in hand with Connor. He held my hand tightly, offering silent support. In the audience were Serena, my parents, my in-laws, and many friends who supported us. Reporter Lena was also seated in the media section, her expression complex. Hello, friends from the media, and all the netizens watching. I spoke into the microphone, my voice clear and steady. I stand here today to address the baseless rumors that have been circulating about me and my family, and to expose the numerous wrongdoings committed by Ms. Hazel against both me and my husband, Connor. I got straight to the point, without any pleasantries. On the large screen, the edited video footage began to play. The first segment showed Hazel stopping the car on the wedding day, forcefully demanding to exchange the white chrysanthemum bouquet. Her seemingly sweet yet subtly threatening gaze at that moment was captured with crystal clarity by the high-definition camera, a tradition of exchanging happiness or else face misfortune. I repeated her words with biting sarcasm. It was only later that I discovered both the white chrysanthemums and the bouquet she swapped with me contained carefully hidden objects meant for casting curses. The large screen displayed a close-up of the pink roses, revealing the strands of hair and nail fragments I'd found buried deep within the floral arrangement. A collective gasp rippled through the audience. The live stream chat is going wild. Holy shit, she actually cursed him. That's vicious. The more you think about it, the creepier it gets. This woman has been scheming since the wedding day. I actually felt sorry for her when she got jilted before, but now she totally deserves it. Then came the wedding scene, where Hazel showed up uninvited, forced her way to the head table, pretended I pushed her, slandered me, and spread the replacement rumor. And the moment I revealed the engraving on my wedding ring, shutting her down right then and there. Replacement, I raised my hand, showing the engraving inside the ring once more. Connor's one and only love is me, Meredith. Connor nodded beside me, holding my hand with a firm gaze. Never changed. OMG, this is so sweet. The schadenfreude is real. How's that egg on your face, Hazel? Photoshopped evidence. Lies upon lies. The third segment shows surveillance footage of the wedding suite being decorated as a funeral parlor. Clear footage of the bride's staff member exchanging money and items with Hazel in the service corridor. On my wedding night, my bridal chamber became my funeral parlor. I looked out at the audience, my tone still calm, but my fingers tightened around the microphone. This isn't just a prank, it's psychological abuse, a vicious curse. The room fell dead silent, everyone stunned by the relentless blows. Then comes the fourth segment, which documents the entire incident where Hazel challenged me during my live stream, presenting a photoshopped intimate photo that I immediately debunked with the original image and timestamps. With just a poorly photoshopped picture full of flaws, you attempted to slander my husband and destroy my family. Ms. Hazel, your methods are utterly despicable and beneath contempt. The fifth segment is the complete recording of Hazel, along with her mother, brother, Jasper, and a group of others, blocking my doorstep, banging on the door, hurling insults, throwing a tantrum, and Hazel's mother feigning a heart attack. The phone vibrated. The footage shows Jasper smashing the door with an iron rod and Hazel attempting to throw herself into Connor's arms, harassing us at our doorstep, hurling insults, destroying property, and faking illness for extortion, incitement of online harassment, rallying misinformed netizens to launch personal attacks against us. During that period, my family and I endured immense pressure and humiliation. A slight tremor crept into my voice, barely noticeable. Connor wrapped an arm around my shoulder just then, offering silent comfort. Muffled curses of anger began to rise from the audience. The live stream chat exploded with "scumbag, what a trashy family," and "apologize now." The final segment, this is the entire incident from that night when Hazel, Jasper, and a third person broke into my home, all clearly captured by a hidden camera, from them prying open the window to get inside, to them sneaking into the bedroom. Hazel's eyes burned with ravenous obsession as she Stared at the wooden gourd, my heart sank like a stone. Jasper lunged to snatch it, Connor flipped the light switch, and the struggle erupted. I tripped Hazel while Connor subdued both Jasper and the knife-wielding man. The police stormed in and handcuffed a limp, despairing Hazel before dragging her away. Every single detail was crystal clear: Hazel's shriek of "I've broken your fate," and her final frenzied scream of "You set me up," as she pointed at me, kept playing on a loop. Because of some baseless rumors, they actually believed in my so-called jinxing romantic rival's destiny. They broke into my home armed in the dead of night, trying to destroy what they called ritual objects, and even harm us. Ms. Hazel, your superstition, your paranoia, your madness, they've driven you to trample on the law and extinguish your humanity time and again. Everyone was rendered speechless, utterly stunned by the overwhelming evidence of these crimes, each one more damning than the last. This has escalated far beyond a simple emotional dispute or some online squabble. This is a blatant and escalating criminal act. These are just some of the crimes that Ms. Hazel has committed against me and my family. All evidence has been submitted to the police. I took a deep breath, preparing to deliver my final statement. Suddenly, a commotion erupted near the side entrance of the press conference venue. A figure in a detention center vest, with disheveled hair and frenzied eyes, broke through the staff's attempts to restrain them and charged in, screaming wildly. It was Hazel. Somehow, she had managed to escape from the detention center, or was she deliberately set free by someone? Meredith, you bitch, you're talking nonsense. She looked completely deranged as she lunged straight for the podium. Her target was clear. It was me. The audience gasped in shock. Security and police officers quickly reacted, moving in to stop her, but Hazel seemed to tap into some hidden reserve of strength. Actually managing to break through the first line of defense. In her hand, she now held a small bottle filled with an unknown liquid. Chapter 5, it came splashing straight at me, with vicious force. Die, concentrated sulfuric acid. I'll ruin your face. Let's see if Connor still wants you then. Her shrill scream echoed through the entire banquet hall. Meredith, watch out. Connor's face went pale, and without a second thought, he moved to shield me with his own body, but I was faster than him. Before he could even move, I had already violently overturned the podium in front of me. The heavy, solid wood podium barely managed to block most of the liquid that came splashing towards us. FSSSS, a plume of acrid white smoke erupted. The podium's surface was eaten away by extensive corrosion. It's not concentrated sulfuric acid, but it's also a dangerously corrosive liquid. If it splashes on someone's face, the consequences would be unthinkable. The whole place erupted into chaos. Screams erupted from all directions. Seeing her first attack miss, Hazel's eyes grew even wilder. She actually pulled out another sharpened plastic toothbrush handle and charged at me again. I'll kill you. I'm finished anyway. I'm taking you down with me. I didn't get to watch you fall to your death in our past life. This time, I'll make sure you die right before my eyes, she screamed, completely losing her mind. Past life, fall to death. Her words exploded in my ears like a thunderclap. She remembers. She also has memories from her past life, so that's why she's harbored such deep hatred and murderous intent toward me from the very beginning, so that's why her methods are so ruthless, pressing on relentlessly. In the blink of an eye, several highly trained bodyguards had completely subdued Hazel, pinning her firmly to the ground. She was still struggling and roaring, like a desperate trapped animal. Before they gagged her, she glared at me with fierce intensity, mustering her last ounce of strength to scream, Meredith, I curse you, may you and Connor die horribly, may your souls never find peace, I'll haunt you from beyond the grave. Her voice, dripping with venomous hatred, echoed through the silent banquet hall. It sends chills down your spine. The live stream captured every terrifying moment of this madness in real time. This is insane, completely unhinged. Did she just say past life, fell to her death? Oh my god, that sent chills down my spine. What kind of deep-seated hatred is this? This kind of antisocial behavior must be severely punished. I watched as Hazel, pinned to the ground, continued to glare at me with pure venom in her eyes. A chill ran through my heart. So she remembered everything from the very beginning. She came with vengeance and murder in her heart. In our past life, she was the one who killed me. In this life, she still wants me dead. Old grudges and new grievances intertwined. I walked up to the subdued Hazel, looking down at her from above. In my eyes, there was no fear, no anger, only utter indifference. Hazel, my voice echoed through the venue via the microphone, reaching thousands of livestream viewers. No matter what you remember, or think you remember, right after that, this time, you lose. The law will bring you to justice, and you, bang, bang, bang. I paused, then enunciated each word with deliberate clarity, will pay the price for everything you've done. Take your time to repent in prison. The police quickly stepped forward and escorted the completely broken, screaming Hazel away from the scene. After a brief period of chaos, order was restored at the press conference, but the atmosphere had completely changed. Hazel's final outburst, with her frantic screams about past lives and falling to her death, left everyone deeply disturbed and bewildered. I steadied myself and returned to the center of the podium. My apologies for the shock. I'm sure you all witnessed what just happened. There is no doubt about MS. Hazel's mental state and dangerousness. Next, I will present the final piece of evidence. The final chain of evidence began scrolling across the large screen records and transfer receipts of the sedatives purchased by Hazel's assistant, undisclosed financial transactions between Hazel and CEO Zhao, chat logs between Hazel and Jasper, containing malicious curses and discussions of illegal schemes. Additionally, recently added police records detailing Hazel's prior involvement in fraud and extortion. Irrefutable. Justice has long arms. I believe the law will deliver the fairest judgment. I also hope my experience can serve as a cautionary tale for everyone. Stay away from obsession and madness, reject cyberbullying, and have faith in the law and justice. Thank you all. I bowed deeply to the audience and the cameras. The press conference concluded. The internet went wild. Every trending topic and search query was completely dominated by hashtags like Hazel's crimes, Meredith's press conference, and past and present lives. Netizens who had previously attacked me were lining up to apologize. All of Hazel and her family's social media accounts were permanently banned. Her die-hard fans vanished without a trace, like rats scurrying across the street. Shortly thereafter, the court held a hearing on the case. Hazel was sentenced to 20 years in prison, as the crimes were particularly egregious and posed a significant threat to society. With penalties for multiple offenses combined, CEO Zhao also ended up behind bars due to economic crimes and other related issues. Jasper and other accomplices received their respective sentences as well. The villain has finally been brought to justice. The end. Story 2. Starved for affection. I took in 3 maimed beast men as family. I risked life and limb time and again to earn money for their medicine and treatments. I thought my genuine care would thaw their frozen hearts, yet when the moment came, they shoved me into harm's way to save my cousin instead. That's when I realized they all had their own moons to cherish, but I was never their moonlight. Eventually, I too found the moon that was meant to shine for me alone, yet those 3 began self-harming like madmen, covered in wounds, their tear-stained pleas bleeding through every word, begging me not to abandon them. The wound in my abdomen burned with agony, yet my heart soared with inexplicable joy. A black market fight for a miracle cure, totally worth it. This should cheer Kale up. His mangled fox ears that always bothered him can finally be healed. The thought made me quicken my pace without realizing it. By the time I got home, night had fallen completely, but the living room was unusually lit by a single lamp. I stood frozen in the courtyard, a sudden wave of inexplicable melancholy washing over me until tears welled up unbidden. For over 20 years of solitude, never had I seen a light left burning specifically for my return. One, beast folk grow anxious without their master's presence, so they typically wait restlessly in the living room, leaving a warm amber lamp lit for their late returning owners. Thus over time, that glowing amber nightlight became both a symbol of the bond between beast folk and masters, and a tender expression of familial devotion. When I first rescued Kale and the others, I yearned deeply for a nightlight of my own, but they said they were already broken, exhausted in body and soul, with no energy for such trivialities. If I wanted warmth, I should abandon these damaged orcs and find someone whole and beautiful instead. My heart ached for them. They were family. Though disappointed, pity outweighed everything. From then on, fearing their distress, I never mentioned it again. After 5 years together, I'd given up hope for that light, never imagined they'd surprise me with it today. A smile crept onto my face as I tiptoed forward, planning to surprise Kale and the others, but when I pushed the door open abruptly, the 3 beastmen inside turned in unison, their eyes held not welcome, but wariness and irritation. My heart sank as I instinctively forced an apologetic smile. Sorry, did I interrupt? I thought you'd left the light on for me. Before I could finish, Jack suddenly stood up in a rage, hurling a botched wood carving into the trash. Lights, lights, lights. That's all you ever talk about, he snapped. How many times do we have to say it? We don't leave them on for you. Are you brain dead or just deaf? I stood frozen, my gaze instinctively darting toward Kale and Ray, silently pleading for them to speak up for me, yet all I got was a fleeting glimpse of inexplicable disappointment in their eyes when they noticed me, before deliberately looking away. To them, my presence meant no more than a passing breeze or a light drizzle, utterly insignificant. My heart clenched as I suddenly recalled the deranged, obsessive look on that person's face before their death. Violet, Violet, you should come with me. No one in this world will ever love you. No one. I shook my head, breaking free from the memory, silently repeating the words I'd told myself 1,000 times before, no, I will have family, I will have love, and most importantly, people who truly care for me. I looked up at Kale, as if desperately needing to prove the conviction that had always burned within me. Reaching eagerly into my pocket, I produced the carefully preserved miracle cure and stepped forward to offer it to Kale. He paused his bracelet making, tilting his head up to look at me with confusion. I flashed him an ingratiating grin and said, "This medicine will heal your ears. Just apply it daily for a week, and your damaged ears will regenerate completely. You won't need to wear hats anymore." Kale's eyes flickered with faint light as he studied the medicine in my hand. Discreetly tucking away his craftwork, he accepted the vial and, unusually, gifted me with a smile. "Thank you, Violet. I'm really happy." Kale, a fox beast man, was naturally handsome, but he usually wore a cold expression around me or stared at his reflection with melancholy. It was the first time I'd seen him smile like this, making his features glow even more radiantly. I couldn't help but freeze in place, utterly mesmerized. A sudden forceful shove from behind caught me off guard while I was lost in thought. Stumbling a few steps, I fell hard onto the ground. My injured abdomen collided with the coffee table's corner, sending an involuntary shudder through my body. Jax's displeased voice came from behind. "Hey, I haven't forgiven you yet, and you're already making eyes at that fox, TSK, such shameless behavior, clearly not a proper owner." I lifted my head to explain, but the pain left me speechless. Realizing I wasn't groveling with apologies like usual when he got angry, Jax felt humiliated and stormed off in a huff. Kale clenched the medicine in his hand, muttered some half-hearted excuse, then hurriedly left as well. In the flickering light, I looked up at Kale's retreating figure through the shifting shadows, and couldn't help feeling a pang of sadness. After all, Kale was the first beastman I'd brought home. We'd spent the most time together, and I'd always treated him with the utmost care. We'd lived like family for 3 years, yet now when I lay wounded and writhing in pain, he couldn't even spare me a passing glance, though I understood his resentment over the disfigured ear. Still, my gaze fell as his retreating figure paused at the doorway, then turned back abruptly as if remembering something, and just like that, hope rekindled in my eyes. Sadly, Kale's hurried return wasn't for me, but for that unfinished bracelet lying on the couch. I lowered my head with a self-deprecating chuckle. Just as I tried to get up, a hand suddenly appeared before me. I froze, looking up to see Ray, uncharacteristically breaking his usual silence. Meeting my gaze, he flashed that familiar roguish grin. "What? Realized I'm way hotter than that flamboyant fox just now. Can't take your eyes off me." I didn't respond, just stared at the outstretched hand in midair, overwhelmed by the unexpected honor. After all, Ray might play the charming playboy, but he's actually the hardest to read. I could never tell whether that cheerful grin masked disgust or delight, whether his smooth talk carried sincerity or deception. About 2 years ago, I rescued a battered Ray. While dressing his wounds, the back of my hand accidentally brushed against his arm. Ray was grinning ear to ear, praising me for being gentle and considerate, saying he couldn't help but fall for me. But later, I accidentally discovered him muttering disgusting while obsessively scrubbing the spot I'd touched hundreds of times, until the skin broke, bled, and festered. From then on, I became extremely cautious, never laying a finger on him again. Even when applying medicine afterward, I'd simply prepare it and leave it by his door, so, fearing he might harm himself again, I didn't dare take his hand. Instead, I steadied myself against the coffee table and slowly rose on my own. Ray's smile faded noticeably, her expression turning sullen. His usual smirk disappeared as he tilted his head, asking, "Does my broken antenna disgust you?" I froze, not daring to touch that nerve, shaking my head vehemently. "No, Ray, you're beautiful, I adore you. How could I ever be disgusted?" Suddenly, his lips curled again. "Really?" he challenged. I looked at him with sincere eyes and nodded emphatically. Ray immediately followed up, even more handsome than Kale. My nodding faltered as I saw his expression start to droop into a pitiful pout. Eager to reassure him, I quickly added, "Yes, handsomer than Kale." Satisfied with my answer, Ray suddenly stepped forward and pulled me into a tight hug, whining, "If Violet thinks I'm better looking than Kale, then why did you only fetch healing potions for him? You're definitely playing favorites." I froze in place, flustered by their sudden intimacy. "I want my cute little antennae back too. Butterflies look awful without them. Violet, you've got to fix mine as well." With a playful pout, Ray lowered her gaze and gave me a suggestive wink. "Once my antennae heal, Violet can do whatever she wants with me." A crimson tongue flicked across peach-colored lips as her sultry eyes half-lidded. The space between our lowered faces grew thick with shared breath. I snapped back to reality, my face flushing crimson. Just as I was about to push them away forcefully, a loud crash came from outside the door. I turned my head in alarm, only to see Kale, who had unexpectedly returned at some point. He threw the ointment in his hand into the trash with unprecedented scorn on his face, sneering sarcastically, "I thought you might need some pain relief after boxing, but clearly I've interrupted your little moment. My apologies." I turned to explain, but Ray reached out and covered my mouth. The other person glared at Kale and taunted, "Since you know you're interrupting me and my darling master, why don't you take the hint and scram?" Kale sneered, "You think I want to witness your filthy little affair, but if word gets out about today, even if you regain your antennae, that person would probably despise you, so tell me, should I?" Before Kale could finish, Ray shoved me aside with a murderous urgency, as if his deepest taboo had been violated. He snarled, "Kale, if you dare breathe a word to that person, if you hadn't done it, why would you fear me telling the truth?" With those final words, Kale walked away again. Ray, no longer in his earlier seductive demeanor, left in a hurry with a grim expression after asking me to help find some medicine. I suspect he rushed off to strike some deal with Kale, probably to keep him from blabbing to certain people. The lively living room finally quieted down. Clutching my abdomen, I shuffled to the trash bin and retrieved the discarded medicinal ointment too. As I was about to stand, my peripheral vision caught a damaged wolf figurine. After a brief pause, I picked up the little wolf too, unpolished and rough, its wooden splinters pricked my fingers. Holding the wolf under the light, I examined it carefully and realized it could still be salvaged. I quietly put away the little wolf, thinking this might make a good apology gift for Jax. Otherwise, that proud little wolf would probably torture himself with overthinking. As for the person Kale and the others mentioned, I suspect it's their former master. Beast folk are deeply loyal to their masters. It's only natural they'd remember their past one. I understand, but when they were gravely injured and near death, their former master abandoned them. After they recovered and eagerly returned to their old master, they were cast aside again for being disfigured and disgusting. So I believe if I try harder and treat them better, they'll forget their past owner and accept me as their new family. I'll prove to that person from my past, I won't be alone forever. I deserve love and a family too. Just as I returned to my room with the ointment and the injured wolf cub, my phone pinged with a notification. When I checked, it was a message from Iris. "Violet, I heard your beast folk refused to leave lights on for you, but when I visited tonight, I clearly saw warm lamplight flickering to life in your room. Don't take it to heart. If they'll light lamps for me but not you, they're probably just shy. Show them more kindness, and you'll surely win them over. You should cherish this phase, really. I wish I had your kind of problems, Violet. You've no idea how clingy my orcs have always been. They'd literally faint from crying whenever I stepped out. Such a headache." I tossed my phone aside in irritation, leaving all messages unanswered. Iris was my cousin, a year older than me. I still remember how warmly she greeted me when we first met, eagerly dragging me to play with her treasured toy collection. Back then as a child, I couldn't grasp complicated matters. I just knew this beautiful, kind-hearted cousin was someone I adored. Just as we were leaving, the pretty little girl came running out in tears, saying her toy was missing. The missing toy was eventually found in my backpack. My mother slapped me so hard I fell to the ground, knocking out a tooth on impact. Through sobs, I insisted I hadn't stolen it, that Iris had given it to me willingly, but no one believed me, not even the parents who brought me into this world. As blows rained down on me like hailstones, I caught Iris flashing me a triumphant smirk when no one was looking. It wasn't until later that I learned she had been the only girl in the family before my birth, the undisputed princess who basked in everyone's adoration, the enviable apple of their eyes. But after I was born and displayed greater innate talent, the family's praises shifted to me more often. This bruised the pride of the pampered princess, fueling her resentment. Afterwards, Iris would slander me at every turn. At first, the family defended me, but as her accusations piled up and my parents' disdain became obvious, they too began seeing me as some kind of born villain. After all, what kind of parents would falsely accuse their own child? But little did they know, my father adored Iris's mother, and my mother fancied Iris's father. Naturally, the child born from their respective first loves received twice the doting. Whenever we found delicious food, we'd always bring a portion for Iris. If something caught our eye as beautiful, we'd buy it for Iris without hesitation. For birthdays, we'd spare no expense, building her a princess castle worth millions. On the day of my ability manifestation, a once-in-decades thunderstorm raged outside while I burned with a 40 degrees Celsius fever, unconscious and near death, requiring emergency transport to a specialized hospital. Yet when Iris called saying she was scared, my parents' hearts ached so intensely they abandoned me without hesitation, driving through the torrential rain straight to her house. The delayed medical treatment left my body permanently damaged, turning what should have been an extraordinary awakened ability into one with crippling flaws. In the hospital bed, the ghostly pale girl sobbed hysterically. Who's your real child? You took Iris to amusement parks on my birthdays. When I was sick, you spoon-fed her through tantrums. At parent-teacher conferences, you fought to praise Iris during speeches. Why, aren't we supposed to be family? Am I not worthy of your love? Why do you always favor Iris? You've seen how she slanders me. She's clearly the one who's rotten to the core. A sharp slap rang out as the little girl was struck across the face. Jagged nails left crimson trails on her skin, and droplets of blood splattered onto the white sheets, staining them scarlet. Shut up. How dare you speak ill of Iris? She's an angel. If she treats you badly, you must have deserved it. Love, you shouldn't even exist in the first place. Who gave you the right to demand love? Listen well. No one will ever love you. You'll die alone, because you're unworthy of love. Gasping for air, my eyes flew open as I jolted awake from the nightmare, the echo of those words still ringing in my ears. My phone chimed again with a notification, the bounty notice I'd posted earlier. There was finally a lead on the sacred remedy for Ray's antennae and Jax's tail, but it lay deep within the perilous abyssal forest. Without a moment's hesitation, I resolved to embark on the quest for the cure. If I can just find that medicine, Jax and Ray will be overjoyed. When they're happy, they'll want to become my family. But I never expected Kale and the others to stop me the next day when I was fully geared up to leave. Stunned, I kept double-checking. Are you seriously coming with me? The abyssal forest is dangerous, nothing like those leisure spots we've been to before. I'm not sure I can protect you all. Still clearly upset about last night, Jax cut me off with an impatient scowl. Enough with the nagging. We said we're going. Just lead the damn way. Why all the chatter? Besides, us silver wolves aren't so pathetic that we'd need protection from some useless human. Ray grinned. Exactly. Don't worry, Violet. We can handle ourselves. I opened my mouth to protest, but Jax had already marched ahead. The other two clearly had no intention of waiting for my decision either. Following without hesitation, with a resigned sigh, I gave up and fell silent. Maybe it's just me, but on the way to meet the exploration team, Jax and the other two orcs seemed unusually conscious about their appearances. Kale wore a vividly colored hat that stood out dramatically, accentuating his strikingly handsome, almost otherworldly features. Jax had deliberately put on new clothes, his silver chains adding a rebellious flair as he walked with spring in his step, like someone anticipating something special. Ray, who usually dressed like a peacock, surprisingly opted for a plain long robe today, a refreshing contrast that caught everyone's attention. I never expected to see Iris among the expedition team heading into the abyssal forest. My heart sank as I saw the sudden gleam in Jax's eyes, a terrible premonition washing over me. 3. Violet, what a coincidence. Are you also going to the abyssal forest? Pressing my lips together, I remained silent, my face practically radiating disgust. Iris's forced smile finally cracked under the humiliation. Kale cut in abruptly, locking eyes with Iris as he picked up the conversation. What a coincidence. Seems fate keeps bringing us together. Jax crossed his arms and scolded like a righteous mediator. Cousins talking to you. Did boxing punches deafen your ears? Where are your manners? Ray chimed in with a sugary smile. That's right, Violet, only well-behaved, polite girls earn Beastman's favor. Iris, who always enjoyed everyone's favor, curled her lips into another triumphant smile and said hypocritically, it's fine, I don't mind. Violet's always been like this, I'm used to it by now. For the first time, I found Kale and the others irritating, downright grating. Face stony, I quickened my pace, ignoring their little performance. I couldn't even bring myself to wonder why Kale's group always took Iris's side. Jax tried to strike up a conversation along the way, but I brushed him off. I admit I was projecting my anger unfairly. When it comes to Iris, I can never stay completely rational, probably embarrassed by my rejection. Jax started deliberately chatting up Iris in an exaggeratedly loud voice and laughter, clearly putting on a show for me. As night fell, Kale and the others finally stopped hovering around Iris and came over to me in high spirits. I remained seated, eating in silence without my usual warm hospitality when we're out together. After waiting forever without me offering them food, Jax finally snapped, Violet, can you just act normal? Stop being so sensitive. We only got closer to Iris because she's your cousin. Are you really going to keep sulking over something this petty? I kept trying to talk to you during the trip. Gave you every chance to make up, but you deliberately gave me the cold shoulder, and back when we were looking for medicine, you went straight to Kale first. It's because you're so obviously playing favorites that His voice trailed off as Jax stole a glance at me, looking utterly wrong. My mind flashed to that poorly carved wolf figurine, then to the little silver wolf lying in a pool of blood with tear-streaked fur. In the end, my heart softened. Turning around, I pulled his favorite canned meat from my backpack and handed it to him, conceding, "All right, don't be mad. I was just in a bad mood earlier, wasn't targeting you on purpose." Jax's eyes lit up, his stubby tail wagging like a windmill despite his affected dignity as he sniffed. "You can't treat me like this anymore. Okay, I'll reluctantly forgive you, just this once." Nearby, Ray put on a pitiful expression and whined, "Figures. Medicine for Kale, treats for Jax. I must really be the least favorite beastman." In Violet's eyes, unable to bear his gaze, I hastily shoved the bread in my hand into his mouth, desperate to cut off whatever he was about to say. The atmosphere froze instantly. Ray, usually so composed, stood rooted to the spot. Upon closer look, the tips of his ears had turned faintly pink. It suddenly hit me. The piece of bread I'd just forced into his mouth was the same one I'd taken a bite from. Before I could retrieve it, Ray instinctively devoured the bread in 2 quick bites, making the already awkward situation even more surreal. Kale's face darkened as he abruptly stood up and left without a word, preoccupied with the awkward bread incident. I wasn't paying my usual attention to him, so I completely missed how he deliberately paused, almost as if waiting for me to follow. After a hurried dinner, we arranged the night watch rotation. The night passed without incident. The next day, we split into 2 groups. Iris led one team away with eager determination in her eyes, while I set out to gather the medicinal herbs we needed. The atmosphere remained awkward throughout the journey because of what happened last night. When I collected the final herb with unsettling ease, a sense of foreboding washed over me. The silence was deafening, unnaturally so for the infamous abyssal forests. The next moment, the eerie quiet shattered violently as Iris came barreling toward us in disheveled panic, her eyes lighting up with desperate hope upon spotting our group. "Kale, Ray, help me." My breath caught as I focused. Chasing after Iris was a blazing crimson phoenix, a creature straight out of legends. Tales spoke of ancient beast folk dwelling in the abyssal forest, but I never imagined they were real. The beast-luring powder in the air, combined with Iris's behavior along the way, made the truth painfully obvious. Iris had drugged the phoenix, attempting to force a contract. Instead, she provoked its fury. Cold sweat broke out on my forehead. In the blink of an eye, Iris was nearly upon us, with the phoenix hot on her heels, its talons mere inches from her back. One swipe would undoubtedly paint the ground crimson, shielding Kale and the others. I shouted desperately, "Run, I've got your back." Before I could finish, an overwhelming force sent me flying. The carefully carved wooden wolf tumbled from my arms, rolling through the dirt until its surface was smeared with grime. Jax froze at the sight of the wooden wolf carving, his feet instinctively moving toward it, until Iris called his name. He stopped mid-step and turned to assist his former master instead. Dazed, I looked back only to meet Kale's guilt-ridden gaze and the others shielding Iris protectively as they walked away without hesitation. The truth I'd deliberately avoided now laid bare in the cruelest way possible. Iris was their former master, all 3 of them. That explains all their strange behavior before. They despised me because Iris hated me, so while basking in my care, they deliberately said and did things to wound me, all to avenge Iris. As Iris and the others vanished from sight, I snapped out of my daze, bracing for the phoenix's fatal strike, only to be met not with pain, but a featherlight embrace. "Hey, don't you dare cry," came the voice. I've got no clue how to comfort people. Blinking dumbly, I turned to face the now humanoid phoenix behind me and stammered, "Why, you're not killing me." After a brief moment of eye contact, they suddenly covered their eyes with trembling hands. The exposed alabaster neck flushed crimson, their voice trembling with unconscious panic. "Don't look at me like that. It's strange." Watching the young master blush to the point of near fainting, I couldn't help but wonder, is this really how phoenixes behave? When I cautiously took a step forward, they dramatically recoiled as if burned. As the initial panic faded, the adrenaline from our narrow escape must have gotten to me. Some strange impulse welled up inside, an almost playful urge to tease the person before me. So we maintained this dance of advance and retreat until the breathtakingly beautiful youth was backed against a tree by my pursuit. Like a kitten puffing itself up, he blustered, "I am warning you, don't come any closer, or else. Rising on tiptoe to meet his gaze directly, I challenged, "Or else what?" For, after a charged silence, the boy was first to yield, protesting loudly, "You must have slipped me some strange potion. Why else would my heart act so peculiar around you? Hand over the antidote now, or I'll haunt your every step." I chuckled, recalling an old meme, then grabbed his hand firmly and teased with feigned sincerity, "You're doomed, you've fallen head over heels." The boy blinked blankly at my words, his face clouded with utter bewilderment, clearly failing to grasp my meaning. Maybe it was my desperate longing for love, or perhaps his pristine innocence, or maybe, just maybe, I'd fallen for this little phoenix at first sight. Whatever the reason, I knew one thing. I had to have him. Kale, Ray, Jax, they were all irrelevant now. Failed experiments couldn't stoke my darker desires. Let them chase after whoever they wanted. Love is beautiful, love is sinful, love is extreme. In this moment, I began to vaguely understand those wretched parents, because I was now employing the very tactics I once despised to seduce an innocent little phoenix, pure as blank paper. I took his hand and slowly traced my name onto his palm. I'm Violet. What's your name? Me? I have no name. The humans who come here all call me Phoenix. The pounding in my chest grew louder, a suffocating sensation as if my heart might burst through my ribs. Then let me give you a name, Nox. How about I call you Nox? The night stretches with distant bells, while the starry river waits for dawn's first light. I need no dawn, no morning light, only eternal night keeping company with evening stars. Nox, under my unwavering gaze. The little phoenix murmured the name repeatedly before looking up with a smile. All right, from now on, I'll be Nox. I love this name. My grip tightened unconsciously. Whether Nox was willing or not, I thought, from this moment onward, he would be the family I'd been searching for all along. The return journey was remarkably smooth, as no beasts dared to attack or intercept us. With the phoenix's presence, holding my companion's hand, I felt my heart swell with contentment, no longer adrift in the uncertainty that once plagued me. After emerging from the dark abyss forest with the young phoenix, we encountered Iris and her group in disarray at the forest's edge. When they spotted me, Kale and the others' eyes lit up with relief and joy as they rushed over like a gust of wind. Thank goodness, Violet, I knew you'd be fine. Your abilities are exceptional, though they take a toll on your body. Your survival odds were always higher than Iris. Just as I thought, I turned away, evading Kale's touch. The warmth in my eyes when facing him had vanished completely. Don't touch me. My icy demeanor left Kale frozen in place. Only then did he seem to notice the young phoenix at my side. His gaze dropped to our intertwined hands, and suddenly, as if provoked, he lunged to pull us apart. Let go. No holding hands, no touching anyone else. You promised Jax would be the last one. You lied again, bringing home another beast folk. We were perfectly fine living just the two of us, weren't we? Ray, Jax, even this damn fox here. None of them should have existed. With a loud thud, the frenzied Kale was knocked to the ground by me, lying there in disarray. He raised his bloodshot eyes with utter disbelief. You'd hit me, for another beastman. Even Ray and Jax, who had rushed over from nearby, froze in shock at this sudden turn of events. After all, among the three of them, Kale had always been the most special to me. He was the first beastman I'd ever picked up. Ignoring everyone's reactions, I shielded the little phoenix behind me and glared coldly at Kale on the ground. And it will always be A, but B could be anyone. Weren't those your exact words when you refused to form a contract with me out of loyalty to your former master? Now I believe you were right. My gaze swept over Ray's conflicted expression and Jax's restrained fear as I said, and what you said before, that settling for second best is the most disgusting thing in this world. I've come to fully agree with that. Since you've already made your choice, protecting your former master and helping her escape, I'll let this betrayal slide. Just don't ever show your faces around me again. Jax's eyes reddened abruptly as he stubbornly stepped forward, staring at me. I admit taking Iris away was too much, but don't you think the one being cruel here is you, saying such harsh words? You promised to treat me like family when you took me in, yet you turned your back on me over one single mistake. I tilted my head and smiled at Jax, who was making his case with increasingly flustered indignation. One mistake. Remember when you made me stand in the rain for 3 hours just because I couldn't get the carving wood you wanted? I went through hell just to get you all to celebrate one birthday with me, and what happened? You stood me up as a group. At the time I couldn't understand why. Now I get it. Because I'd pissed off Iris the day before, right? And let's not forget how you disguised yourselves to watch me fight in that underground ring. I thought you were worried about me, but turns out my humiliating footage just became Iris' entertainment. Even just now, if I hadn't run into Little Phoenix, what you'd be looking at right now wouldn't be a living person, but a mangled corpse. Family, don't make me laugh. You think you deserve that title. As I recounted more of the past, the trio's faces grew increasingly pale. Suddenly feeling this was pointless, I tried to leave with my Phoenix but couldn't budge it. Before I could turn around, I was pulled into a warm embrace. The person tilted their head with a cocky expression, saying, "Sounds like they were really, really awful to you." Then the young phoenix leaned down, ignoring the other's smoldering glares, and whispered near my ear, "So, master, would you like my help?" Their proximity made my cheeks burn. I instinctively snuggled deeper into the warm embrace before realizing, could I truly be someone's unconditional favorite? After lingering in that warmth for a moment longer, I shook my head. No need. I wouldn't want to dirty your hands. I left with Little Phoenix in toe, leaving the four of them standing there dumbfounded. I could feel Iris's gaze burning into my back, her eyes fixed on little Phoenix with such intensity that dark impulses surged through me. I nearly wished I could gouge out those staring eyes. Instead of taking little Phoenix back to Kale's place, I brought her to my real home, a modest 40-square-meter wooden cabin nestled in the wilderness. Once abandoned in the wild due to Iris's prank, this very cabin saved me from perishing in a raging storm. Years later, when I could afford it, I gradually transformed this place into my dream home with my own hands. Little Phoenix surveyed the interior, and I found myself growing nervous, as if regressing to my insecure childhood, my hands clenched tighter, voice trembling. It's just the most basic setup. If anything doesn't meet your standards, I can always. Little Phoenix reached out, rescuing my palm from my own nails, just like in the forest before, saying, I love it, just as much as I love the name Nox. So master, you really don't need to make that face. I don't know why, but seeing you like this makes my heart ache. Someone guided my hand to press against a powerfully beating heart. My nose suddenly stung, and I couldn't hold back the tears anymore. The little Phoenix suddenly panicked, flusteredly wiping my tears as he hurriedly apologized. Hey, don't cry. Did I say something wrong? I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Please stop crying. For the first time, someone ached for my tears. For the first time, someone became flustered because of my crying. I reached out and pulled the little Phoenix into a tight embrace, murmuring into his shoulder, Are you this gentle with all humans? Without hesitation, the words tumbled out almost reflexively. Impossible. Those who ever tried to cross me now have 3-meter-tall weeds growing over their graves. After a brief silence, they awkwardly reached out, clumsily patting my back with a voice tinged with embarrassed frustration. Only you make me act this strange. You're the only one I'd ever comfort like this. Then I want you to celebrate my birthday with me. You have to sing nursery rhymes for me, and tell me bedtime stories too. Then give me a baby Phoenix. Okay, what? I looked up at him with a triumphant grin. I don't care. You promised anyway. Then I reached out and poked his stomach playfully. Nux. Is there a little Phoenix in here? His face turned crimson. How could there be? We haven't. Under my teasing gaze, his face flushed even redder before he finally snapped in embarrassment, pressing my head forcefully against his chest. I closed my eyes, smirking to myself. How wonderful. So this is what it feels like to be indulged in silly antics, light as a feather, like floating on cloud 9. In the following days, my little Phoenix accompanied me through every whim I'd previously only dreamed of. The sweet, fluffy cotton candy at the amusement park, a strong, comforting back to lean on when exhausted from play, whimsical bedtime stories under the night sky, and finally, the warm glow of a light I never dared hope for on late returns. I stood frozen, staring at the violet-shaped warmer light as my eyes welled up again. Ever since being with little Phoenix, I've become like this, tearing up over the smallest things. Back when I got gut-shot begging medicine for Kale's crew, I didn't even flinch, my voice choked up as I looked at the awkward little Phoenix. When did you get this? Kale's gang really left me traumatized. I never dared mention wanting a warmer light, never expected little Phoenix would go buy one on their own. We've been together every single day, swapped it with the shopkeeper during your blindfolded target practice. Exchange, with what? My life-bound warmth jade. I froze again, even suspecting my little Phoenix had fallen for some scam. This seems popular among humans, leaving a warm light for one's master. Since it symbolizes our bond, I naturally traded the most precious thing I possess. I traded my companion jade for this violet light, a symbol of our unbreakable bond. So Violet, I'm never leaving you. Cheer up, will you? The clumsy little Phoenix was soothing my fears and anxieties with his purest, most genuine affection. In the end, I couldn't hold back my tears. How true it is. Those who are loved become fragile, because they know someone will come running to comfort them when they cry. A few days later, I returned to the city with little Phoenix. I never expected to see Kale and the others waiting at my doorstep. The living room was lit by 3 warm yellow lamps left on, with Kale and his 2 companions sporting dark circles under their eyes, their faces clearly exhausted. The moment they saw me, all 3 jumped up excitedly. Violet, you're back. 5. I frowned at the trio. Why are you still here? My words seemed to go in one ear and out the other as they grinned unnervingly at the little Phoenix behind me. So this is the 5th member of our family. Violet, you're terrible. Can't just forget about your rescuers when someone new shows up. You kept him out playing so long, we've been waiting forever. Jax, his body wrapped in layers of bandages, stepped forward with a lifelike wooden wolf carving. His eyes shone with hope as he said, the birthday gift you always wanted. I finished it. That little wolf figurine from the abyssal forest. I went back to Retrieve it. From now on, I'll always keep it close. I reached out, took the carving, then, under Jax's suddenly radiant gaze, crushed it to splinters with one forceful squeeze. As his eyes widened in horror, I tossed the fragments into the trash. Sorry, but I don't like picking up other people's trash. Jax froze in place, then frantically started digging through the trash bin, muttering like a madman, "No, it's not trash. And I didn't give it to anyone else. I made it especially for you, for Violet." I even carved our names on it, annoyed by his words. I turned to look at the bracelet in Kale's hand and raised an eyebrow. For me, he instinctively pulled it back, then glanced at the little phoenix behind me before offering it again with a hint of hope. "Violet, I'm sorry. I thought I loved Iris, but during these days without you, I realized it was just obsession, not love. I couldn't accept being abandoned. The truth is, it's you I truly care about. Can we go back to how things were?" I wouldn't mind if you took in another beastkin," I scoffed. "You might not mind, but I do. After all, my first and only bonding ceremony is reserved for my little phoenix. If there's nothing else, I'd appreciate if you three could vacate the property soon. I've already contacted potential buyers." After a long silence, Ray finally blurted out, "You sold the house we lived in for 3 years. Didn't you say every corner of that home brought back memories of our time together?" "Exactly. That's why I had to sell it. It made me sick just thinking about it. You'd understand, Ray. After all, you used to say it disgusted you too, scrubbing yourself raw like that." Under my amused gaze, Ray flinched and looked away. "And no, I've changed. I didn't mean it back then. And you promised to help me find the medicine." As my stare grew colder, Ray's words trailed off. "We've wasted too much time here." The little phoenix huffed, clearly displeased. "I've never had previous owners. Yet you've had 3 beastmen before me." Flustered, I soothed. "We're just test subjects, nothing compared to you. You know our bond is my first true contract." Afraid the phoenix might say more, I hastily muttered some excuses and made my exit with the others. I truly thought this incident would sever all ties with Kale and his group for good. To my horror, those 3 became utterly obsessed, tracking down my address and staking out my doorstep every day, battered and broken beyond recognition. They clutched trinkets I'd casually mentioned wanting, whether as passing remarks or genuine wishes. "Violet, I learned to knit that scarf you wanted for your 23rd birthday, Kale murmured. "You said my drawings were good, that you'd like a portrait. See, I poured my soul into this." Jax raised the canvas, his scarred wrists bearing crimson streaks where blood had replaced paint, the flowers blooming unnaturally scarlet. "The black bear that attacked you in the underground arena, I've killed it. Could you patch me up like before?" Ray gasped, drenched in blood, and looking seconds away from collapsing, facing these 3 orcs who seemed so deeply in love with me. I couldn't help but find it utterly ridiculous. When I loved them, they cast me aside like trash. The moment I walked away, they treated me like treasure. Netizens were right. Pathetic people love wallowing in their own melodrama, mistaking their toxic obsession for some grand romance while being nothing but a nuisance to others. Under Phoenix's increasingly